All right, let's go ahead and get started. So much water. Yeah. All right. Where did we leave off? How much water do I have? I'm guessing a lot, right? Considering the water bots are here. I should be basically neutral. Yeah. That tracks. That does track. So I've lost no water over the break. Thanks to the water bots. No invasion though. Yeah, 1 to 4 water. I am maxed out still. All right. Weapons wise. Hey, Ross. What am I 36 I'm at? Let's start strong here. There we go. do the perfect loadout. Yeah, let's start strong. Let's talk to our vendors too. I should be off the curse. Yeah, I'm off the curse now, I believe. As I would think. Go talk to Grillo, right? Yeah, I can buy stuff again. Perfect. That's amazing. I love it. I am no longer cursed. Alright, I need some 20 mil. And I know you... Don't you have 20 mil? No. Is it only Grillo and Bunko, maybe? What do you... God, so much freaking water, man. What do you want? Hey, Ludroth. It's going up real slow now. What do you want from me? What will make you happy? Hard drives? That helped out a little bit. Yeah? There we go. Hey, John. Let's go over to Bunko. He sells plenty of 20 mil. Hey, zombie. Yeah, you too. That should be enough, I think. Yeah, that's plenty. Do I have the jump? I do. And bring meds. Bring like 8 of these and quests. Can't believe we're in 2016 already. Wait a second. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right at all. Come on. T90, Eurasian, there we go. Tormentor also. Do we have... Where's Goldbrick at? Yeah, the drones are rough, man. Drones are... That's what I've been seeing the most of during my break, is just like, just drones. Everyone doesn't like the drones, which is fair. Considering the new aggro system, right? Drones are really obnoxious. And they hurt a lot now, too. I'm curious when we're going to start hearing from the devs, or at least their PR department. They might be on break this week, too. Maybe next week's our first week back. It honestly does make a lot more sense, though, for a drone swarm to be HKs than, like, a heavy infantry unit. Because you can deploy them rapidly across the world, or across the area, as they fly. Like, it would make a lot more sense thematically for drones to be HKs. Yeah, zombie, that seemed to be the vibe, considering that, like, I've seen a lot of feedback in the Discord and other areas about, like, the new aggro system, or at least the new bugs with the aggro system, and people suffering for it. I hear some mechs. I'm guessing they're Euruskin. Yep. Alright. Is our friend Goldbrick here? Does not appear so. Someone's already dead over there. But yeah, that's my guesstimate. Yeah, next week. I mean, they could be back in the office too, and they're just working on something to fix it. We're just kind of getting back in the game today. We're just kind of vibing around. We'll probably start changing things up a little bit later, but just for today, it's been, you know, about 2 weeks or so. Play the game a bit, see how it feels without touching it for a while. You know, I pick up the chopper quest, and there's no chopper. I am sad. I don't even think they need to revert it, they just need to fix them, right? It very clearly is broken in some capacity. Like, it just like the AI for the dog in Underground Cemetery, right? It feels like a precursor to a much more fleshed out system, but they put it out there without any of the fleshing out. So it's just like a very bare bones system that feels really bad because there's nothing beneficial about it, right? It does kind of give you, like, for right now, the only thing that changes it right now is the sprint modifier, it seems like. So if you're sprinting, it modifies that radius quite a bit. That's not good. Oh. Leave me alone. There you go. What do I need to? I'm not gonna shoot you. I'm moving on. So, in regards to the AI aggro system, right? It feels really bad because they only included the malices, not the boons. So for right now, right, your base, like, say for example, your base aggro radius for Scav Girl is 6 meters. The only modifier that actually has right now is a negative modifier for sprinting. But, like, what about for crouching? What about for weapons? What about for your rig? I can see a scenario, right, where, like, you don't natively come stealthy, but you can modify your stealth through playstyle and through equipment. Hey, Chris. But the problem right now is, like, none of that's in the game currently, so it just feels really bad. It's also not, like... The biggest thing, too, is it wasn't... It feels almost unintentional, like they accidentally put it into the patch because they said nothing about it. So it feels like a system they're working on, but it wasn't ready for shipping yet, and it just got into the patch for some accidental reason. Like, the fact we saw nothing about it in the patch notes, though, they don't think... I don't think their goal is to give us everything in the patch notes, but, like, I don't know, maybe they'll learn from this that maybe they need to include stuff like that. It does feel unintentional, though. But that's a big thing I will say. You do need to, like... If something's not natively intuitive, you do need to explain it pretty well. It's okay to gamify your game and just make it clear how a system works if you're not going to make it natively intuitive. Like, there's nothing wrong with making a game that feels like a game, right? But there will always be this friction, though, too.
How's the day?
Like, for example, if there was a mechanic where, yeah, the smaller rigs actually do make you stealthier, it has to be related pretty well that, like, if you're upsizing your... Because you start with a small rig, right? You start with the smallest rig and you go up from there. Kind of makes it like training wheels almost for stealth. It needs to be very clear as you progress through the game that as you get these bigger rigs, that they make you less stealthy, they're noisy. And you can do that a few ways, right? I know that, like, they were talking about in the patch notes, like, the rig falling, whatever it's called, making the rig basically make more sounds. I didn't notice it that much, but it would be interesting if they made, like, the sounds of the giant or the larger rigs make a lot of noise, and that would kind of indicate to you that, oh, hey, by the way, this rig is quite noisy. You can hear it rattling around as you're moving around with it. And that's kind of a way of, like, notifying players, like, hey, by the way, you make more sound with this rig. But I personally did not notice this. Like, this rig doesn't make any sound to me. Like, this rig, this giant fucking Goliath of a rig I'm wearing right now sounds to me the exact same as the smaller rig. But yeah, that's also things you do, like Loadout, right? You do that with rigs, and you do that with weapons, right, too? So, like, smaller weapons make you stealthier because they have better handling. It would make a use case for pistols, right? So, like, right now, pistols don't have a use case, but say, for example, you want to be stealthy occasionally. So, for example, you can equip a pistol on your offhand, and when you want to stealth around, you can pull out your pistol, perhaps, and that might give you a benefit. And then there's weight, too, right? Having a full container, having more stuff in your container might make you less stealthy. And they can do that, for example, too, by making the sounds. Like, for example, say, for example, we have, for example, the pack mule right now. We're carrying the pack mule. So say, for example, the pack mule is not, it's pretty unstealthy base, but as you fill it up, it even makes it worse. But they need to make sure that, like, that's very audible, right? Yeah, there's only so much, like, really, 2 choppers not in a row this map. That is very rare. Yeah, a better implementation of co-op. I know that there's quite a few bugs going around right now in regards to, like, actually having players join co-op. So I hope they get those ironed out. But, like, there's only so much you can do in a peer-to-peer environment, though, too. Hey, Alex, we're looking for the chopper to spawn so we can kill it from up here. Unfortunately, we're having some very bad luck right now with the chopper. We're also looking for Goldbrick, who will usually... Alexa, shut up. What would... How did she turn on? Anyway. Spybot Alexa. Anyway. Yeah, we're looking for Goldbrick. We're looking for Tormentor. It could be below us, too. We're looking for things that basically snipe, and they don't exist. Yeah, well, there are some just, like, issues with, like... There's a few bugs right now, Loadout, with keeping people connected in the innards. Like, so, bugs like that, like, for example, I don't think networking in, like, peer-to-peer should be a high priority, but at the same time, the bugs that hinder that ability should be fixed quite a bit, because people do like playing with friends, right? Games feel better with friends, even if you prefer playing solo. But, like, yeah, it needs to be fixed with that. Loadout, it's pretty critical in the sense it's very hard to play co-op right now, unless you, like, if you spend any time in the innards in co-op right now, it basically boots you from the game. You crash. So, like, as long as you're, like, you basically get into the game with your friends and then start immediately. Once you're in raid, there's no issues at all, but, like, while you're in the innards, there's a lot of bugs right now that will boot you from the lobby, making it hard to rejoin your friends in the lobby, and then just crashes. If you're in the innards for too long. So, like, stuff like that is critical. But other than that, peer-to-peer does work perfectly fine. There's a lot of quirks with it right now. Yeah. Stop spotting behind me. No problem. Whee! All right, time to leave. I actually, weirdly enough, the fact that it defaults you to third-person aiming with Gunhead is actually a feature, not a bug. Or it's actually a boon, not a malice. Mainly... Oh, are you fucking kidding me? Fuck off. Really? That's not good. It's the first stream of the holidays. Or I guess the post-holidays. You feed. Alright. I might be able to get by it with just spamming jump. Once we get to the bridge, we'll be fine. It's just getting to the bridge is gonna be kind of a bitch. I have people behind me too, I think. You don't see me. I said you don't see me, not that you do see me.
Not sure where.
Hello, XO. Will you politely please fuck off? Whee! I will say that's like one thing I would want to probably see them amend a bit. The fascination the AI has with scavs does seem to be pretty aggressive. I can see them engaging you, but I can't see a lot of them chasing you. Like, there might be scenarios where they might chase you, but it seems that, like, they shouldn't care all that much that I'm running away. But I digress. Oh, the jump pack is like, the jump pack alleviates a bunch of the bad movement in the game. It's quite nice. All right. Next one. I'm sure we're gonna find the... It's very weird not to see the chopper twice.
Let's count for something.
Hey, Dyer. You too. But yeah, going back to the stealth that talked about, right? It just seems like a baseline system that needs to be like elaborated upon. It doesn't seem like a bad base system. It just needs a lot of extra work and modifiers to make it beneficial. But for right now, and also I will say the vertical aspect needs to change. If you're gonna have it for drones, like, okay, but like not every unit should have the functionality where aggro's, you know, vertically infinitely. That just seems like an oversight. Well, that's really nice. Ways of like stunning the dog. All right, and then our 20 mil. I think 7 is enough. All right, third time's a charm, right? Nasco, it does, but at the same time, it's not an easy upgrade, but you can get an upgrade that basically removes that, or basically counteracts that. No, yeah, Ludroth, I didn't lose any water. I might have even gained water when I was on break.
I hate the surface.
Like, no, like, I netted, I think I was either even or netted. Nice fuck. But it's an expensive upgrade. Like, you need to progress pretty far into the game to basically remove the mechanic of it counting down. But once you do it, it's basically just done. I made a post in the Discord about what I would want to see from a water system. If I ever talk to the devs, I'm going to bring that up because I want them to do something along those lines. It doesn't have to be naturally exactly that. But like right now, I think everyone realizes like their change to water was a compromise, and it doesn't really help out, and like it doesn't really do anything really, right? To be quite blunt about it, it's a compromise that appeases no one. Also, are you kidding me? Where's the damn chopper? I heard Tormentor downstairs, but he probably died to the mech. My god. The Holy Knight they have, personally for me, I don't see a big boom, but I'm kind of like a weird edge scenario. But I have heard anecdotally from a lot of different comments that like the improvement since the launch of the game is quite good. Now, I will say the game is CPU bound, so if you're running a very old CPU, it's probably going to be rough, and that's just the way it's going to be, unfortunately. Like, for example, I'm running a 5000X, which is a pretty decent Ryzen chip. It's just, it's not bad, but I'm basically locked into about 60 to 70 FPS no matter what map I play and settings I play. All right, so, yeah. Third time was not the charm. Yeah, Zombie, it's definitely hit or miss, right, in some capacity. Like, I've heard, like, uplifts, people having issues too. Like, it's all across the board, but I would say the general trend is I have heard improvements. But I have heard improvements, but the amount of different specs you can have with your PC, right, makes it really hard to say. And because the demo is like 3 patches or 2 patches old at this point, can't compare it too much. So the problem with water isn't the fact that it's easy, right? The problem with water is it doesn't mean anything. Like, so there's 2 massive issues with water right now. One, that it doesn't mean anything. Water loses basically all meaning. The second thing is, it's not standardized. So what I mean by that is when you have a player who plays 5 hours a day and you have a player who plays 1 hour per week, their experience with water is drastically different, which makes it impossible to balance. So the way you need to do that is you need to remove the amount of play time from the equation. You need to standardize it so you can balance it and make it more impactful. The way you do that is basically means that like you detach it from a real-time clock at all. You're unrelated from playtime. So for example, if you had like a day system, right? So every raid will just, very simplistic, I'm not saying this is the system, right? I'm just saying this is a very simple way of doing it. Every raid is a day. Every raid or every day uses water. However much water, who cares? But it's just a first point right now. So because you attach the water you use to a system like that's not based off real time, but just how much you play, right? So if I play 5 hours a day, I do 50 raids a day. It's going to be the kind of the same ratio as someone who plays 1 hour a day with only 1 raid a day, right? And that way you can actually standardize it and kind of balance it a bit, right? You can make things like survival percentage more important. You can make things like how well you scavenge more important. Like, for right now, for example, right? Someone who plays more a day but plays worse a day. No, don't get me wrong, it's not competition because it's a PvE game. But you can play objectively worse but play more and get rewarded than someone who plays less but plays better. I make a, so if you're not a part of the Discord, there's a private area in the Discord after you verify that you own the game. There's a feedback channel in there. I go into pretty great depths of what I would prefer to see a water system be. I don't want to pull it up because this is a game stream, not a fucking talk about water stream, but if you are so inclined, you can go see it on there. In the Discord and the game feedback section. It's probably a few, it's probably quite a few down by now. Yeah, I haven't played Icarus in forever though. Like, don't get me wrong though, like, this isn't a survival game, right? I know Icarus is like a pretty just, like, not generic, but it's a survival game, right? So it's not really in the same genre as this. There can be overlap too if they really want to pursue that route. But I only really play when I stream STEM. So I stream usually 3 days a week, about 4 to 5 hours. So about 15 hours a week or so, give or take. If it's like a patch stream or patch week, I'll play a lot more. If it's not a patch week, I might take a day off to do a video. But between like 10 and 15 hours a week, all on stream, mainly.
I hate the surface.
And for example, because of that STEM, like I have, right now I have my full, I'm full on water, 100 days, and then I have another 600 water in the bank. And it means nothing to me, right? Naturally, I'm going to be an outlier. There are people who play a lot more than me off stream, but like if you play the game for like 10, 20, 30 hours in a short span, water becomes basically meaningless, which kind of removes the whole ambiance of you're a survivor. All right, before we go up top, let's see if there's anyone downstairs. Oh, think I see anyone down there? No, there's not. Okay, so now up we go. Sam, I really just enjoy the vibe of the game for the most part. Right now, it probably looks a bit weird because I'm trying to get a quest done, and it's Drown. I'm trying to get a quest done this map, and it just hasn't been spawning yet, which is really weird because it usually spawn. There we go. There you are, you piece of shit. Gold brick, no gold brick. What are you guys doing? Chill the hell out. Anyway. Yeah, like this isn't a survival game, so like that's the biggest thing too. They could blend the genres if they want. They have a neat opportunity to do that. But they definitely should pick and choose. All right. Hey, stand still. All right, so now it's gonna look at us. Yeah, if you really focus on water, you can like get enough water for your innards in like literally 1 day or 1 hour, if that. It's essentially a pretty meaningless system, and they even made it more meaningless. I need cover here. Unfortunately, I think we're hitting something here, the invincible wall a little bit, so it's my normal spot's a little bit too, oh, that works actually. Over here. There we go. All right, this works. Yeah, and in fact, they added like, so in the initial patch, not every quest would give you water. It'd be pretty rare. In like the first big content patch, they reworked the quests, and essentially all of the quests give you water now. It's in the. It genuinely feels like they're basically trying to do band-aids to their current system because they don't want to do a system overhaul. But like, no amount of band-aids is just going to fix the issue that the water system is bad. What do you disagree about it with military? Please elaborate. What are your... What do you like? What don't you like? Please elaborate. Also, let's go get our scrap from the chopper. Hopefully we get there in time. I think it's going to be probably not a great spot for us, but we'll find it hopefully. Stem, this game is multiplayer. There's no server, so it's strictly peer-to-peer co-op, but it's up to 4-player co-op. We're mainly looking for the high nav comp. Now, unfortunately, I think it fell in a pretty bad spot for this, but hopefully we can find... Also, please leave me alone. There they go. I think it was over here. Looking for a drone death area. I probably should look to see where it fell exactly. It does despawn pretty quickly. Leave me alone. Yeah, I probably lost it. It might have dropped to the can, or I just missed where. I should have probably watched where it fell. Probably time to leave though, with Hunter Killers being here. Also out of medkits. Hey, Pixel. All right, I tried. The chopper is dead, but we didn't get the part. Military, by the way. I'm still waiting for the whole text about water, by the way. I'm very curious. I'm not gonna bash your opinion. If you like it or you don't like it, just I want to hear your opinion on it, military. There we go. Wait, the fix is more upgrades, and when you upgrade it, it takes the water instead of leaving it, so also timer isn't. Don't get me wrong, like there is part of it that water needs to be a currency, or water needs to be there needs to be sinks for water. Don't get me wrong, but like the biggest thing about water is that you need to standardize it between players because you can't balance it otherwise. See you, zombie. When you have two vastly different experiences with water on different ends of the spectrum, when you try to balance it right, you're appeasing one but hurting the other. There's no way about that. So the first thing you have to do is standardize it right between all the players. You basically have players playing two very different games. All right, we tried, Mr. Hive Nav Comp. All right. It shows who's in Frozen Swamp. I love Frozen Swamp. Hey, Lord's Rim. Let's do a Gunhead. It feels so fitting to do Gunhead on this map for some reason. All right, RPK. It's kind of sub-factions. Like, you kind of have four factions. You have Europa, Euraska, Eurasia, and then you have Scavs. And then Scavs are just like everything else in a bundle. I guess you could maybe consider cultists a different faction, but you could also just bunch them under Scavs. Just their own variety of Scavs. Regions, we're gonna go to Frozen Swamp, and let's do now. Schematics are gonna be over here. During the drone part first is probably the better way of doing it. Yeah, let's do that first. So we'll do drones, and we'll go up to Titan Wreck and do that from there. Essentially, right? Yeah, not big enough to matter in some capacity, or just that, like, I mean, it's in some capacity we are cultists in there. We worship Big Green. Not Big Green, sorry, what's his name? The Rat King. But, like, you can easily quantify or, like, group together all of the other factions that are Scavs. Or, I guess, like, you know, the fourth faction, aka everyone else. In regards to other factions, right? That's kind of how I feel like they would see it. For Europa, if you're not Europa, you're an enemy, including scavs. And then for Yuska and Eurasia, same thing. If you're not Yuska and Eurasian, you are technically either Europa or a scav, aka enemy. I still definitely feel like those are antennas of some degree. Though I am a bit confused. Okay, so for this Clear Skies quest, we're grabbing a jammer, basically like apparently like a low frequency jammer, I think it says in the quest, and we're placing it in the middle of the hives to disrupt their signals. And when they get their signal disrupted, they explode, right? So it maybe is like either a self-destruct or a medium mech. What are no, 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 no. Sir? This is not good. Big Green is the like a heavy mech. So right now we only have these medium mechs. So basically imagine a mech much bigger than this. That's Big Green. It's basically a mech that we don't have in the game yet. Sir, you are in the way. Yeah, I can see like a unit like being like Big Green, for example, being out of our reach of destroying. But I do know, I think they were talking about like weak points and like having to use teammates to help out to destroy things like Mother Courages and stuff, and maybe perhaps grabbers. For example, in one of the trailers too, we see a grabber getting skewered by a medium mech, so it's definitely in the route. Like, why? Why? Don't shoot me, please. I did nothing wrong. There we go. Anyway. Back to our previous conversation. So, hey, what was I even talking about before? Fuck. Yeah, okay, so this is a, like, in the quest dialogue, this is a, like, a low frequency jammer. And when we deploy this in the center of the hives, the drones just explode. So I wonder if it's like, now naturally jamming is different than having no signal. So I wonder if like the drones have a safe, like a fail safe to explode if they're being jammed so they can't be like recovered, or if it's just that in absence of a signal they explode. Because these effigies, right, kind of give the like feeling that when the drones are deployed without a signal back to home, they construct these to kind of amplify their signal. At least that's my headcanon, right? But the jammer making them explode almost kind of gives the vibe of if they don't have a signal, they explode so they don't get recovered. Yeah, Pixel, they basically spawn dead, but like at that point, why spawn at all? Yeah. Kind of felt like we were too close for that. Yeah, the problem with more drones, so many drones. Placeholder, but yeah, they just, yeah, half-baked. Like, that's the biggest thing about Gunhead, right, is he can't really be a frontliner in combat because he just can't heal himself. He's very finite. Alright. So we deploy this and they should die immediately. Go, go, go. All right, so no more drones for now, at least of this variety. So Marcus, it's twofold. Leave me alone. Anyway, it's twofold, Marcus. It's not that it's not like forgiving or easy, right? It's meaningless. Like, so for example, that's almost like kind of a point supporting this, right? You just tripped and fell and had 60 water, and it wasn't an issue for you at all. Does that really feel like water's important or just an afterthought? It feels like water's an afterthought, right? I'm so scared. This is probably too deep. We'll go around. I think right now the biggest quirk with Gunhead is because of the 12-meter aggro radius. He takes a lot more damage than he probably should be doing. I would like to see that fixed before I consider like having Gunhead be healed. Like, I don't know. It's rough in some regards too, because I do enjoy the intensity Gunhead brings back to the game by not having the ability to heal, right? Before the break, I was mainly saying that Gunhead should have probably 2 HP bars, an armor bar that you can repair, and a systems bar you can't repair. And so you would have like an 80-20 split, so 80 systems and 20 armor. You could repair the armor, but you can't repair the systems. So it would like basically mean in combat, if you chew off too much and you start damaging your systems, that's not repairable in raid. I like the idea, like, you should feel attrition, you should feel whittled down, there should be some intensity to like taking too many fights and you're running low on resources, you're wounded, so on and so forth. The Gunhead can shoot. I'm not using it currently because it's not silenced and we're already pretty low, so it attracts a lot of attention. It is useful though when you want to murder things. So for example, like if something's in range, I can target it with Q and then murder it. Rather it auto targets, I just hit Q and it starts shooting. Well, Marcus, like think of it more on a philosophical basis than the implementation, right? Say for someone who has like an hour or two to play a week, does it feel right for them to be punished for only having that hour or two to play a week? Philosophically, don't ignore the current implementation of the game and just say philosophically, like, is it right for someone to be punished for not playing a casual game? And like that's the core issue at hand here, right? It's not about the implementation, it's about the core concept behind it, the philosophy behind the idea of having a countdown outside the game. It feels like almost like a FOMO or gotcha mechanic, right? In the sense of if you don't get to play the game, you get punished. And at this point, they've banded it so many times, it's lost all meaning for both sides. It's essentially a meaningless mechanic. And when they're trying to go for this vibe of you're like an apocalyptic survivor and you scavenge to survive and water's important, water doesn't feel important right now. And the way you make it important is you start balancing water, but you can't balance water until you standardize water between all players. And the way you standardize water between all players is that you detach it from a rule clock. You make it like raid based, you make it in-game based. You could do it in-game timer instead. It only counts then when you're in-game. But I feel like that's a silly mechanic too because it rushes you. In a game about atmosphere and like survival, feeling arbitrarily rushed because of an in-game timer also feels bad. So literally just make it raid based or day based, right? Like you get X raids a day. When you do X raids, a day passes, you consume water. I go into much more detail in a post on the Discord, but that's essentially the you know, the main concept there is you have days, you have X raids a day. You could do day and nights if you wanted to. You could break it up even more if you want to, but you need to standardize how water is consumed. Yeah, Swag, per mission, yeah, for example, yeah. And then you can do things like, for example, make maps cost more or less, make modifiers cost more or less, so on and so forth. There's a lot of different ways of going from there. But the baseline to standardize is always the same, right? Is like you need to make it standardized by just making it per raid. You can build out from there however you want, but like just the base. So Neum, the biggest thing you need to consider when we're talking about rebalancing the water, you need to detach the current economy in the game from that concept. Naturally, any reworkings of the water system would also include a rebalancing of the water economy. So, like right now, what you're currently, I feel like you're stuck on is you think 1 barrel of water is 1 day. And I'm saying that that would very much likely not be the case anymore, right? So, hold on, I'll just pull up the post too. I'll flush it out more. Okay, so in the system, right? We can leave this way also. In the system that I kind of highlight, you do a few things. Naturally, 1 barrel of water isn't 1 water. You maybe, you know, 1 barrel of water is 10 units of water, and you may have different sizes, right? Like a large barrel is 15 units of water, so on and so forth. So we don't need to worry about that exact concept, right? But the biggest thing about the system I recommended, right, is you tie progress to water consumption. So essentially you make it as you so when you start out in the game, you have a very base low level water consumption, right? You basically consume very little water per raid, making it extremely forgiving. You basically make it that like you almost cannot die in raid, or you can't get water death when you're starting out. It's almost virtually impossible. And then as you progress, as you unlock, say, traders or different thing in your innards, or say more characters or innards or traders or rep levels and so on and so forth, your water consumption goes up as you basically attract more attention and more people to your innards. As you progress, your water consumption goes up. So it creates this kind of tension, right? As like, do I go quick and try to expand quickly and try to keep up, or do I take it slow and methodical, making sure that I have plenty of water stockpiled up before I go to the next level? It gives you some agency in that regard. But what it does is it removes the water tension from the beginning of the game to later in the game, when you have more resources to help deal with it, or more choices to help deal with it, right? You tie basically water consumption to progress, and then you have the intensity be later in the game. Yeah, if I recall correctly, Gorf, it's like 3 guys in your innards that are really easy to kill. They have watered it down so much that it's meaningless now. And like, I guess the lesson for them is that is like, no matter what, even watered down, you're not going to appease the people who were unhappy with the core system in the first place. See ya, Smoke. Connor, it could have just been too, like, just hesitancy to rework an entire system. It is a giant pain in the ass to rework an entire system. That's definitely core to your gameplay loop. But what other time to fix it than now, right? We're gonna do stealth head. Yeah, it's unfortunate if he gets anxiety in a game like this. So I will say, it gets easier as you go along. It's not too terrible. It probably would, Niome, but like you can definitely pen and paper it quite a bit. Like you could sit down and balance it pretty well. And like the biggest thing, right, would be like survival percentages and so on and so forth. And the big thing too is to provide systems, Niome, in that environment to provide players who want to play slower, more methodical. Like for example, let me just go to the post. 1 second. Where are you? Probably pretty far down here. So if you're unfamiliar, this is the Discord for Foreverwinter. And if you verified your game up here, right, you can come and see the section out here called Game Owners. And there'll be a feedback and bug section here. Where is my post? There we go. All the way up. So ignoring most of this, right, the thing they want to balance right here is like right here, you provide options for players who want to play slower or riskier or so on and so forth, because some players aren't going to have high survival percentages, right? Some players are going to be worse than others, but you still let them progress through the game by going slower and then doing things like upgrading their innards. Like for example, say for example, theoretically someone survives every raid and brings out water every raid. They might not need these upgrades, these mid-tier upgrades. They can maybe skip water bots and go straight for the end game, right? They can do things like that. But then you also provide solutions for players who may, for example, have issues with collecting water or surviving a lot by giving them ways of getting water other ways, like for example, water bots and so on and so forth. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to rush players, right? Like in a game, like there are games where you do want to rush players. This is not one of them. It's a PvE casual co-op game, and it can be heavy on survival like that too. It can feel harsh, but it doesn't need to be like harsh in the weird ways of rushing players, right? Yeah, Kappa. And weirdly enough too, right, in a detached environment like this where you don't have to worry about a game wiping ever so often, it is nice to have those end game goals, right? Because it's not a rush like it is in Tarkov where you need to worry about like a wipe coming eventually. You can actually have long-term goals like that. Oh yeah, they're never gonna do PvP. It would be such a mistake. If they ever said they were considering adding PvP to the game, I would like do my best, yeah, just Gunhead things, to reach out to the devs and be like, that's a bad idea. That's a really bad idea. That's a very stupid idea. Go Marauders. Like, do not hurt yourself by adding PvP to the game. Because if you want to, like, I will say, like, the one thing the anti-water crowd doesn't do well is they don't voice their opinions in a constructive way. They're pretty volatile about their opinions, and that's fair. You're naturally, you can feel very. It's okay to be angry sometimes, but like, if you're not being constructive, go away, dog. If you're not being constructive, it's very easy to ignore feedback when all you're doing is being vitriolic. Balancing PvP is hard. That's one part, Marcus. It's also because PvP crowds are very, they're usually a small minority, and they're also very vocal. So they can kind of almost trick the devs into thinking that they're bigger than they're not, or bigger than they are. But it's also because it invites cheating. And the last thing a small any game company can do is accommodate dealing with cheaters. Well, the drop, it is a terrible first impression though, right? It's like anyone with a kind of like a anyone can immediately say like, I'm being punished for not playing the game constantly. That's a terrible system. And then they turn off the game and don't play it again. It's a terrible first impression. I mean, even Ivan, like, no.
High threat in AO.
You can cheat in this game if you really wanted to. There's just no point, right? Because it's a PvE game. But like, once you start introducing PvP, you start providing incentives. Hey, I'm so dead. Call to save me. Call to save me. Yes, cultists. Rod. Ah, there we go. Stop teleporting. Anyway. What killed us there was a 12-minute radius. Anyway, what was I saying? They just need to fix the dog. The biggest thing is the aggro radius for sure. I don't mind the dog. The problem right now is the dog cheats. The dog teleports. And I do agree, like, I mentioned this in a previous video too. In the dog's current implementation, like, if you're gonna pull an alien isolation and have a dog one-shot you, it needs to feel fair. And the problem is it doesn't feel fair ever. Like, if you're gonna have like a horror element like that in your game, you need to actually have like a horror gameplay loop in the game. And right now it doesn't exist, so it just feels awful. All right, let's go over to a different character for now. Let's go over to Bagman. So I kind of let two looter off in a sense, in this sort of system, right? I don't mention it too much, but like, where are you? For example, traders, right? It really sucks having to redo things like credit cost and so on and so forth. So what you could do, if you go over to like a system like a day system, right? You can have traders, as opposed to being reset every hour, you can have traders reset every couple days or so. It's like, say for example, you know, Grillo only resets every 7 days in game. So every, like, you know, 7 to 14 raids you do, Grillo resets. And ways you could perhaps expedite that progress or expedite that reset is through providing water, right? Say for example, every day you want to advance Grillo's reset is like a water, right? To help, you know, traders get by or people get by or help them get fund caravans. That could be a really easy way of just like including water as a sink without doing all that much. Maybe even it punishes new players. They still have access to all the traders, right? It's progression. If you're gonna compare late game and early game economies, right? Sure, being a new player in Tarkov punishes you for being a new player in Tarkov. That's just how that's how progression in those games works. The time for painless? It's just, I'm not sure why not. Yeah, Nasco, like different variants of that map too would be cool, right? Like, you know, you could do different sub themes like Left 4 Dead or Orgamax and so on and so forth. Different kind of horror elements of the map. I did a better rig. We start buying turrets too for some fun later. go over to... Start stockpiling those up. Well, like, so if you've ever played Alien Isolation, right, the dog can honestly feel sort of like the alien. It's just that the dog, or the main thing is the dog can track you via sound. Like, if you're unfamiliar, when you shoot a silence weapon on the map, the dog cares little about the silencer. And the dog never drops the aggro too, and it teleports. Like, there's so many different things wrong with the dog on that map that kind of culminate into a very bad experience. It's like a death by 1,000 cuts, right? Oh, don't worry. It's very much attracted by sound. It loves the sound. The problem is it loves sound so well, and it hears throughout the map. When you shoot a silence weapon on the map anywhere, it will start going to that. Which is fine by itself, it just has this tendency to, like, track you after doing that, seemingly weirdly enough. Like, for example, when we were in the atrium there, we were just fighting with some silenced guns, and it ran past everything to our area. It seems to want to follow you, and the biggest thing, too, is it will teleport to follow you also. Blue draw. Remember, times like that are just examples, right? Like, don't. If whenever we're talking about implementing a system, right, don't take the values set in stone. They're always adjustable, right? 7 days is just an example. You would play with it, you would experience it, you would balance it accordingly, right? And remember too, when we're talking about the system also, right? Days are raids, so it'd be every 7 raids you get a reset. Theoretically, right? It could be different systems too, like having day and nights, so on and so forth. Marcus, there are despawn triggers for a lot of units. Some maps you can see them pretty easily, depending on the area you're in. Like Mesa has very clear despawn triggers in certain areas where everything behind that unit or outside will despawn. So yeah, Holy Knight, essentially what will happen is, like, say for example, even if you lock dog in the pipe section of the map, it will be perfect. It will usually be fine until you start shooting, and occasionally it will teleport out of that locked area. It's not all the time, just some of the time it will teleport out of that locked area. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, like, loot drop too, right? Like, you can have more water sinks than just a reset, right? But yeah, the dog will basically, like, the biggest sin is the dog will teleport out of the pipes area occasionally. It has this tendency to want to follow you. Theoretically, if you keep all of the doors open so it can path around freely, the dog will just naturally, like, try to stick to your immediate vicinity, even if you don't do anything. Now, if you lock it into pipes and be sneaky, it will just stay in pipes. But once you start doing things outside of pipes, like combat, it can occasionally teleport into the sewers and then get into the atrium that way. The biggest thing I can say is just if you bring a tac cam, you can kind of see it happen. Just bring a tac cam and just do things and then watch the dog through the... No! Go away. Anyway. I think we're good. Yeah, they definitely did sneak in a few more things with dog zombie. For example, the dog now has those like 2 weak points on the side of its head that can stagger it. You can't stagger it out of its one-shot kill though, but it does seem like you can like actually stagger it with most conventional firearms now. I mean, to be fair, this one forces you to fight more, but you could still fight plenty beforehand also. You are right though, it does force you a lot more this time just because of the aggro. Ow. Freaking shotguns. I should not be in this room actually. This room is a death room when you have HKs on you. I just basically run all high, Marcus. So I have a 3080, 5800X. I run all high. I do run 60% scaling though. So I'm running 2K, but 60% scaled. So it's a bit downscaled. The only map I generally have issues on is Mausoleum, but everyone has issues on Mausoleum. It's the worst performing map. Morphit's going fine. Like, we'll have to see. We're not sure. I'm assuming they're still on vacation this week and they'll be back next week. I don't know that to be a fact though. The newest patch did introduce a few issues, so I kind of want to see on like their next Q&A what they say about the new issues that were introduced. They're not game breaking. They're not literally game breaking, but they are like experiencing reducing, or like it makes the game feel a bit less. You don't bring painless, but weirdly enough, as long as you're using painless to kill your opens, you actually do end up with a lot of 50 cal back. So we brought in about 1k extra. I have been looting all. So we're gonna see how much we actually have after we leave. I have not had that yet, Knight. At least not this patch. Apparently it's just a joke now though. Like a lot of the, as you can see, right, we get a lot of 50 cal back from killing your opens. Yeah, Nappy, yeah, that's the biggest thing I'm mentioning right here in regards to like the patch just having a weird thing about it that's making the experience a bit less. For the people who can't, for the people who prefer playing stealthy no matter what, it's, they basically can't right now. All right, so I'm not gonna pull this out right yet, so we can actually see how much we have. So I brought in 1,000 rounds. I have used essentially 0 rounds there. I've netted nothing. I haven't gained or lost. So you can bring painless in and have fun on a map like Mech Trench, right? As long as you're killing your opens, they give you enough 50 cal back. I did not use any ammo at all, basically, from running that mission. I just acquired a bunch of junk. And like the biggest thing too about the aggro system, right, is like it's hard to disengage for sure. It's almost impossible to disengage from fights without them respawning. But a big aspect too is it's not intuitive. There's nothing tells you that's how it works, and so it feels really weird. Like we basically had to go into a raid and just tippy tap toward things while looking at how far they were away to figure out how it works. There was nothing intuitive about it, right? It was just very convoluted. Just Gabriel things. Yeah, the drones are a bit excessive now too. I think one of the biggest culprits though also is just how aggressively they respawn. Oh yeah, yeah. Gunhead can use painless also. If the drones came from outside the map and didn't respawn as often, I think they'd be much more okay. They'd be a weird niche threat that were high, like a big threat, right? You'd be wary of them existing, or you'd be wary of them in the sky. You try to avoid them. But because of how they currently respawn and how prevalent they are, they just feel real bad. Especially on the new map, right? Because there's just so fucking many of them. Yeah, with the new aggro system, right? Because it's just a straight cylinder, they tend to aggro a lot more now. And visually too, it seems like. They weren't a big issue before, but they definitely are now. But it's also because like the new map just has so many of them also. There are so many of them on the new map. Alright, what are we running? Scorched Enclave? Scorched Enclave. Yeah, that'd be an easy fix, right? Just make it drone based and not anything else based. Ideally, you would have unique aggro systems for each unit. I feel like 2 pixel. It's just a lot of freaking. It's like, it's very. It would be really cool, but it's also tedious and a lot of work to do it per unit. Also, it's probably not like. It's probably heavy too on CPU, I'd imagine. Like, it would make sense, for example, right, for medium mechs or like medium mechs and larger to almost assuredly ignore you most of the time because you're not really what they're supposed to be fighting. They don't care about you until you make them a threat. For infantry, it's probably quite a bit different though, and then for drones, it's quite a bit different too.
Another beautiful day.
A big aspect too, I will say also, it feels like the drones right now don't have their full functionality. The Eurasian Euruscan drones, for example, don't have guns, but they still use guns. And then European drones apparently much more for spotting than it is for a gun platform. It seems like it's supposed to mainly just be a spotter to like, if it spots you, it aggroes units to you, as opposed to just shooting you, right? If they made the drones much more utility-based, I could see that making them much less obnoxious. For example, the drones could be mainly like, so these drones right here could be CC, like crowd control on you. They grab you and pin you down and try to maybe take you, try to fly you away, perhaps, if you're like down. And then the European drones can just like spot you and like call in reinforcements to your location. And just by the nature of removing their guns makes them feel a lot better. They kill stole from me. How rude. Well, Pyro's dead. I feel like that should count. It's probably just hard to code, right? Like, it's hard to like code and probably also do the animations for. It's a lot of work for coding, like animations, like syncing. It's a lot of work for probably a pretty like minimalistic gameplay feature, or a very niche gameplay feature, right? It would be really cool though. But like in exchange of that zombie, all they basically done is they did like one drone's AI and just copied and pasted it between all the drones. And like right now, for example, too, I'm not sure if it's the case, but Euruscan and Eurasian drones are exactly the same. Is that supposed to be the case or just a placeholder? Yeah, probably a placeholder, yeah. Be free. I'm assuming I probably need to still follow you to get you out of here. Are you going left or right? Okay, I'm gonna meet you around here because I don't want to run through them. So I should meet him over here. I have found if you don't follow him out, at least for me, he like tends to despawn. Is he still alive? He's gone. He's probably dead. I usually see him run over this way though and then head over here. He's squatting somewhere and hiding. Mr. Water Thief. Sir? Sir? I'm kind of getting the feeling that he's dead. He ran this way. He might have went up, I guess, instead of this way. That or he's just already dead. Did he go this way at all? No. Oh well. Yeah, there's also a chance he's gotten murdered, I imagine. I always see him like run through here all the way around then through this way. I wonder if he has other paths though too. Yeah, there's like typically speaking, I guess you always want to follow him out so you don't lose line of sight on him. But I didn't really want to run by guys with grenade launchers. Dress? I think it's just like what's it called? Blanket basically. Yeah, I usually see him like run this way then run out, but oh well. Ivan, they eat whatever's consumable basically. Whatever they can eat. We were just there though. They eat people. The mystery meat is people. No, so Eurasia so Eurasia drinks alcohol for sustenance, it seems like. There's MREs though too. There's mystery meats for Europa. They eat everything and anything. All right, what map? Probably overdue for a mausoleum. Chocolate. Yes, canned meat in quotation marks. Canned meat. Come over here. Actually buy 308 now, so let's go ahead and run this. Yes, yes, yes. Vendors, Brillo, 308. We don't have a lot, but we do have more than last time. If you didn't know, this is probably like the best gun in the game right now in regards to the rifles. Did I just not? Sir? What? Did it not take, maybe? There you go. 308. That works. It's the best gun in the game. Ammo's just really hard to come by for it. You only get about 300 per reset, I think, somewhere around there. But because of the headshot multiplier on it, it essentially will one-shot almost all infantry while being silenced, making it quite nice. Like, even the RPK right now will have difficulty depending on the head armor of one-shotting the head. The 308, I haven't found a unit you can't one-shot to the head yet, except for the heavy Euruscan infantry. We can do you. And we'll do Mausoleum, we'll do Ruins. It's really unfortunate too. With the inclusion of medium mechs in the trench lines of this map now, it's a really cool atmospheric area. The only problem is because of the current aggro cylinder, it generally just leads to your death. Oh, hold on. Yeah, let me just go ahead and ban. There we go.
The surface provides options.
That's exactly what I want. 5,000 viewers and no one talking in chat. That doesn't feel sus. No medium X actually? We can actually do the trench line. Holy shit. So right now, like, it's still dangerous, but because the mechs will aggro to you, even when you're below them in the trench lines, it will typically end up with you getting murdered. So it's very dangerous, but is there anyone here? Hello? Oh, hello. Ow.
Enemy contact. Not sure where.
Shaman, not sure where? Shaman. What do you mean you're not sure where? Okay, I will say, in his defense, he is like wearing a giant thing on his head. Might make it hard to see. Yeah, you usually see between like 1 and 3 mediums in the trench lines, which makes it very, very, very hard to survive in here. I mean, typically you're safe when you're in this area, but like the second you step outside, you usually get shot or stomped or just something goes wrong. It is really cool atmospheric though, I will say. Gotcha.
It pays to be the underdog.
Oh yeah, the art design and like the actual maps are really cool. Though I will say, out of all of the maps, I would probably say this one needs a touch up the most aesthetically. It definitely feels like the most dated of all the maps so far in regards to design. And considering too, if you're unfamiliar, at one point Mech Trench, this map, and Scrapyard were one map, and it performed apparently too poorly, so they had to break it up. So I don't think they've reworked this map yet to a kind of, or fully reworked it to consider that. So it definitely feels a bit kind of empty or very linear. There's not a lot of options on this map, it feels like. Exactly, Mushy. Like the new map feels like it was actually designed the ground up to be like a baseline by itself map. And the new map feels really cool, right? It has like a great... The new map has a really cool element in regards to like, you actually feel like you're traversing through like a war zone or a map where it's dangerous and part of the actual map is the journey. A map like this, I just feel like I'm running through, hitting POIs. But a map like that, it actually feels like I'm trying to survive while I'm going through like a war zone. Zombie, on this map, actually both. Like, so one of this map's biggest sins is in this area over here, there's this feature for like Unreal Engine 5 where you basically can just easily generate terrain and texturing for terrain from like a texture set. And it's kind of heavily overused here, I feel like. And I will say, it is nitpicky, and they are actually changing a bit. Like, for example, here, right? This is new. This you can tell from it not being textured, right? They are fixing this quite a bit, actually, by adding new stuff in. So you can see they are working on it. It's just not done yet, because it's not textured at all. This is new stuff from this patch. So they are mending it a bit. But I would say, like, this map has a lack of POIs. It's kind of the same with Cemetery, too. Gameplay-wise, it feels very bland. If you, like, the pipes area, there's really nothing here at all, right? There's, like, 3 crates here. There's nothing, like, mechanically. There's no quests that require you to come here. There's not really any things here at all. Like, occasionally Goldbrick will be here, and that's really about it. It feels like literally about 3/4 to about 2/3 of the map's essentially meaningless in regards to, like, the gameplay. Unlike, say, for example, the newer map, where the crates do, like, even in the empty areas of the map, the very desolate areas, which are more transit zones, they still do a good job of piecemealing things like those unlockable crates, right? And there's always those patrols, right? And, like, they do a good job also of pathing you through certain ways of the map via, like, the water canals and so on and so forth. Perhaps something that's something they can do in the future too, is kind of pathing you certain areas via, like, almost like suicide zones. We haven't really had many drones this map yet. This map does not have that many drones. We'll get a few in the trench lines though, almost assuredly. But unlike the other maps, right, it's not too heavy on the drones in this map. Do I hear a dog? I hear a dog. Yep, that's definitely a dog. Yeah, like, I'm saying, like, they need to rework it, but it needs a little bit of rework. Think of it this way too. Isn't, like, customs in Tarkov getting its, like, through 3rd edition now? If you've played OG Tarkov, like back in the day Tarkov, go look at, like, the old versions of customs, like the old maps for customs, and see how many times the devs had reworked customs. Now, that's more of a BSG thing too, I will say. They love reworking old things, but, like, I could definitely say out of all of the maps, I would touch up this one the first. I am not sure. Cemetery does need some love, but I'm not even sure if Cemetery is salvageable right now, considering dog. Is the EXO just, like, standing here? Go upstairs, EXO. Okay, the guards are dead, but the exo's still here. Yes, sir. Yeah, the vibe of Elephant Mausoleum is really cool. It just... the map design itself just suffers quite a bit. And it would make sense too, right? If like, I could see it if it was attached to mech trenches and attached to Nexus, it'd be a really cool complete picture with a lot of traveling. But because it's missing those two maps on top of it, it just feels empty.
We should be cautious.
I can... oh, let's wait for this guy to go away. Yeah, Scorch is weird though too. Scorch is like almost like an ambiance map, even more so than this map. It's literally just like go to that map and just watch combat happen. Yeah, it's not new. It's just unique to the hangar on this map, and that's it. Thanks, Vinny. Appreciate it. Yeah, the AI cylinder for sure. My God. Exactly, and like, the new map is just really that good, right? It feels like a different caliber above the rest. It's the first map that mixes ambiance with actual gameplay elements somewhat perfectly, right? Like all of the other maps so far usually prioritize gameplay or ambiance more than the other, and it's not necessarily perfect balance, but this map actually does, the map we're about to go to, does mix it perfectly. Gunhead's fun. I actually really like Gunhead just because he's almost like a challenge character right now. Now I will say, if you're having issues with Gunhead, I don't think another 1,000 experience, or 1,000 HP is gonna help you. But I really do like Gunhead though, just because it's a cool character with some downsides, and it makes it feel pretty tense. Oh yeah, all shotguns. Alright, rigs. Weirdly enough, considering the accuracy of third-person firing though, you can actually snipe with Gunhead. It works perfectly fine. You have to get a good feel for where the bullets go in third-person mode, but like, it works. I feel like on this map though, shotgun plus 50 cal sniper rifle is not a good choice. Needs some stealth elements. Yeah, Rico, it's not. Yeah, no, 100% correct. You will always have a very finite time span in raid with Gunhead, which is it's nice and bad at the same time, right? I like the intensity it brings to the game. And we're gonna do railroad tracks. Is there railroad tracks I want to go to, or do I want to go over here? Let's start railroad tracks again. That's fair, Ludroth. But you don't get any boot, like, but there's a trade-off though, Ludroth. You get a gun for a head for not having meds. There's actually a trade-off. I would like, it'd be interesting too for other trade. Like I would not mind if they introduced more trade-offs for characters, right? Boons and malices make characters feel more unique. They feel good so far, but like making them even more unique would be cool too. I would not say no to it. Yeah, it's interesting, right? More because it actually does feel robotic in nature. It's not smooth, but it's also not trying to be smooth, right? Really? Oh, Dirk, make sure you're in the center area. I think you can only get the train schedules from the giant center area in the middle here. I don't think they spawn the small ones outside of that. Problem, Dirk. Yeah, that's a way you give me more HP per level. Like I said, I love trade-offs, so more trade-offs is better. The map looks great, but it's also like with the current we haven't seen much yet, but the gameplay is nice. And for example, we can walk on pipes here. Now, I will say I'm kind of sad that not all pipes are like this, but at least this pipe is like this. Yeah, this map is great. And like the neat thing about this map too is they really help themselves out here, because despite how big the map is, they do a very smart thing here with locking off a lot of the areas to deep water. And now it's kind of hard to tell which water will kill you without experimenting, but you kind of learn that, yeah, water is innately kind of dangerous. You don't really want to go through water unless you kind of have to. So despite the map being big, a lot of the real estate is actually closed off, but it makes you actually spend time traversing the map, which gives you more opportunities of like hitting danger, right? Because, for example, if I want to go from point A to point B over here, right? I have to go this particular route or go around. They can kind of funnel me into almost not scripted scenarios, but like set areas of where fights can happen, making me actually interact with the game, right? Unlike, for example, right? Think, for example, on Mesa. All of the little nitty areas you can run through in the middle of the battlefield. Imagine if those were gone. How much more tense Mesa would feel if you just couldn't sprint to the middle of the map. That's kind of the issue, right? And this map does a good job of getting around that by locking off a lot of the areas in a neat way. And they can do that too in the sense of like having these areas be minefields or artillery strike areas or just like carpet bombing constantly. They can make these like areas of high risk, high reward areas where like you lock off certain parts of the map. So you can essentially ignore them from like a unit perspective of having units on the map. Ow, shotguns. That's wrong button. Now we can leave this way. Unfortunately, I will go over here too and show you, like, that pipe was clearly designed for you to be able to walk upon it and get here. There's a few pipes here that don't function the exact same way though. And it makes me sad. Yeah, like that's a big thing too, right? Maybe like reducing stagger or removing stagger from Gunhead. Now I will say, Pixel, it is both a blessing and a curse, because when you're in the stagger window, they do make you immune from damage. I'm sure you probably noticed this too, right? Like when you're staggered, you actually are immune to damage, which can be a blessing sometimes. So I usually only play on stream. It helps keep the game fresh for me. And a game like this, right, if I play like 40 hours a week and putting off stream, I'll just burn myself out. So I usually only play on stream. Though occasionally, sorry, we do like, you know, community streams. I'll let people join. I'll probably figure out a schedule for that, maybe like every other weekend or every other Friday, perhaps, something like that. I'll figure out something for that, but there will be more in the future. I would say too, I do want to see like the lobby bugs fixed right now also. It can be a pain getting 4 people into a co-op lobby together right now. Is it normal for my head to be a firearm? We are playing a robot called Gunhead. So we are a unique character in the game. And as his name kind of goes, right? Yes, he has a gun for a head. He either have this 9mm SMG, you have an AK, an RPK, or an AA-12 automatic shotgun. But no, yeah, it's a feature of this character. And we can actually use the gun for that too. So yes, in our case, it's normal to be a firearm head. Now, so while we can use the pipe over there to get up here, unfortunately, Mario, the rest of the pipes around here don't actually function like that. You can get down there, but like the pipes clearly aren't meant to be stood upon. I kind of hope they fix that though. I really like the pneumatic jump in this game, feels really cool, and I kind of love the platforming of this game, weirdly enough. So I want to see it explored more, just because I really like it. All right, I need to leave. There's a respawn point over there that they keep respawning at, and they keep coming, so I need to leave. Case in point, they've already respawned. Need to go get the elevator up here. Now, I kind of do highlight this, Sora, in my post on the Discord. Naturally, like, it's probably pretty far back in regards to, like, how easy it would be to implement to what it brings to the game. But, like, multi-map raids would be cool. I always wanted that in Tarkov, for example, like, having to, like, go to a map to go to labs, or go to a map to get to reserve, and so on and so forth. Like, having to plan and utilize resources in a certain way can make maps feel different. Like, say for example, right, in Tarkov, you generally want to be pretty juiced for I can't aim that high. You generally want to be pretty juiced for labs, right? But say for example, you go to a map like, say, Streets of Tarkov to get to labs, and going through streets you get some bad luck and you use a lot of your resources, and you still go into labs, it changes how you play labs now because you're now light on resources. And that's always a cool mechanic of games like this in regards, if they ever do like multi-raid mechanics of, because you can't necessarily always plan for the amount of resources you're going to have in a raid, it changes the experience of that raid. They have it in Tarkov now, cool guy. It's not, they do have it. Can you still bypass it though with just labs, like with a labs key though? Like, it's an optional feature to not have to use labs key, right? Yeah, like it's an optional mechanic. It's not like the actual thing you need to do to go to labs. I'll hit you. Time to leave. I am very hurt. Yeah, that's the downside of a game, in a PvP game like that, right? But that's the thing I've always highlighted with a game like this, right? Because it's PvE, you can do a lot of things that a game like that couldn't do because of the nature of this game. You can explore a lot of things that wouldn't necessarily be available to a PvP game because of things like that. You can explore really long gameplay loops that wouldn't be available in a game like Tarkov because of wipes. You can explore really cool features like, you know, set areas to like leave maps and go to different maps because there's no camping. It is, but it's not. It's by definition an extraction shooter. You go into a map, you do things, and then you extract. But keep in mind, it's only a PvE game, error, and it's almost guaranteed to never have PvP. It'll never be balanced for PvP, never have PvP, essentially, right? So yes and no. And I kind of do hope they kind of use the template of extraction shooters to iterate a bit. AL, it's weird. They're both flagged as, depending on the map you are on and the quest you're doing, those insect drones are either flagged as your Ruskin or your Eurasian. It might be a placeholder for now, but they're the same model, but they're both. So it's weird. You are right, like they're flagged Eurasian, but they're also flagged your Ruskin too, depending on context. Yeah, well, that's part of it too, cool guy. I do think there's a lot. One of my first remarks of this game when I first started playing it, for a game this early access, I honestly feel there's already a decent amount of item bloat. Like if we go over to Grillo, right, and look at attachments and all attachments. Now, I know it's like, so almost a hallmark of extraction shooters, right, is the ability to customize your guns. It almost feels like a cornerstone of the genre, but I really feel like it shouldn't be, almost, right? Like, for example, Hunt Showdown, right? You generally don't, I mean, granted, it's like the 1800s, right? 1900s, right? For Hunt Showdown, so it doesn't really have attachments yet in the world. But do we really need this many foregrips? And like, do we really need all of these to be in the item pool along with all of these? And then we have all of the parts too. It's almost my first remark of the, like, was like, there's so much bloat in the item pool already. And like, this isn't so bad, right? We have MREs, energy bars, so on and so forth. The cigarettes make sense too, but like the item pools right now and enemies doesn't feel right. And the loot that we see on the map right now also doesn't feel right either. In the defense though of the developers, you generally balance stuff like that, I guess not the items, but like the actual economy very late, very, very late, right? All right. We haven't done a scrapyard yet, so we're doing for a scrapyard. Zombie, I feel the exact same way you do. I would prefer less guns and less customization for more unique guns. I would... Right now, there's a lot of overlap in guns. There's a lot of guns that are just strictly better than others. And you can have that be a way of progression, but I would much prefer that to be like a lot less guns, maybe a little bit progression, but have them be much more unique. So Sora, the main way is doing quests to get your faction rep up. Most of the all of the traders will be under one faction or another. So for example, here we can see Grill's under Europa, Aramaki is under Eurasia, the rest are under Scavs. We don't have a Eureska trader yet. So you can either do quests for Eurasia or you can just sell them stuff. They generally only care about high value items. So like right now, we're up level 2. If we sell him some stuff he actually likes, it'll go up to 3 or go up however much so, right? And now we have all 3. Old man. Rigs. No worries. Okay, let's go ahead and make sure we top off our stuff from Bundleton. Hey, Jeremy. Right, so we're doing Scrapyard, which means we're gonna be loud. Now we're using a small rig, so we want to be careful about ammo. Though unfortunately, we're old man who cannot use SMGs because of his bum hand. Hey, Lucifer. All right. We just go loud here. We just go cool M16. I actually really do like the scope on the M16 though. Okay, 5.56. Should I have for you? Enough. Shotgun ammo. Quick meds. And then quests. Find that in raid. Yeah, I don't mind. That's the thing I will say. I don't like redundancy in the guns, but I do like the visual guns with like their own like visual and aesthetic appeal. I think are fine, but they need to like hopefully not overstep the gameplay functionality of other guns too much, right? The M16 being the gun with a 203 launcher will actually make it unique too eventually. It does have an M203 currently, it's just not functional. So it does actually make it like have a use case in this game. It being a grenade launcher with a rifle. If we can do this one. There are upper walls on this map. Right, regions, and we're good. Yeah, that's the saw too, man. The saw, so much muzzle flash on the saw. Just constantly blind with it. I really like the saw. I like what they've done visually with 2 of the saw's upgrades. It doesn't function perfectly yet, but like,
I hate this.
that's the thing I kind of want to see in conventional guns, right? Is like give them like a weird quirk or visual aesthetic change that makes them feel like almost fit the setting a bit more. Like, honestly, make the saw, like, remove the base shit from the saw. Like, that's how you remove bloat, right? Just remove the weird, quirky stuff about the saw and just add the cool shit you already added into it, right? Like the weird handguard and all that cool stuff. Like, the upgraded saw is amazing. And it looks really cool for the setting. It just doesn't, you know, the base saw just looks out of place almost. Yeah, they're like cool guy. Like there's definitely aspect of the game too, right? When I first started playing it, like I saw the conventional guns in this setting. I was like, oh, that's kind of upsetting. Like I'm fine with it, but like I would have loved to see more unique guns. That or guns that like visually fit the setting for me. Like for example, the stamped guns, the stamped submachine gun, the MPL. The chainsaw, yeah. Yeah, air, that like air 100% too. Like that is like a mental barrier for me also. Like I don't mind having M16s and AKs and RPKs and so on and so forth. I just want them to be like visually changed a bit to fit the setting. We don't have them yet. We have grenade launchers, J Hill. We're almost assuredly getting grenades eventually at some point, throwables at one point. And I think they've even shown screenshots of throwables in the game. Or like clips of video. Not like a full video of throwables, but like, you know, snippets of video. So, soon, TM. It could be maybe the factor too that they feel like giving explosives to the AI just ends up with you dying immediately, constantly. Which is fair. Oh yeah. The good old grenades, like you can't cook it at all, so you throw a grenade and like 5 seconds later it explodes. Exactly, cool guy, right? That's a way to differentiate and like kind of give. Yeah, you tell the story of the game through things like that, like items like Elden Ring and like, you know, Dark Souls do. Like Dark Souls, if you're unfamiliar, Dark Souls and Elden Ring, games like that from software games, give you very little lore-wise. They don't give you dumps, right? But a cool aspect is they usually will give you snippets of lore or snippets of story on items in your inventory, so you can kind of like almost piece together stories from that. It's a very cool way of doing it. All right. It looks like our first officer is a female officer, which is great because they don't have grenade launchers. Our second isn't, though. He needs to die. Oh yeah, Half-Life, the staple, right? That's straight fair. Not a very accurate gun, I will say. Is what it is, though. The officer is dead. I'm happy. No, officer's not dead. Officer's not dead. Officer's dead now. Go away. If they ever remove the stagger, it's gonna make the game so deadly. The stagger is like the savior of so much bullshit. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so like the biggest thing about this is like we already have plenty of PvP extraction shooters, and I think there's a lot of cool space to explore in a more PvE environment for gameplay mechanics. Like, there's a bunch of cool things you can do that you wouldn't normally be able to do in a game like this if it was PvP. I'll come back for you.
Gives us an actual chance.
No, I'm crouching. Crouch doesn't do anything. It's 6 meters no matter what. Hello. Grab the gotcha.
Let's get it going.
The biggest thing for me is like, I just don't. If I could almost be assured of the integrity of a game like Tarkov in regards to cheating, I'd be much more interested in investing time in it. The problem is it doesn't exist anymore, right? Cheating is like, because of cheating being a for-profit business, as opposed to just a way of getting ahead. It's literally like marketed to people now in games like Tarkov at an RMT, right? And so the game has no integrity for me anymore, so it just pulls me out of it, and I just don't want to invest time in a game like that. And the problem is because like all extraction shooters have that flaw of RMT / cheating. It almost like Tarkov almost taints the whole market for that. It just pulls me out of all of them. Like I like Marauders too, right? Marauders has its own issues in regards to other things too, but like cheating, for example, was big in Marauders, and so that pulled me out of that too. So a game like this where I don't have to care about cheaters is very nice. And there's also other boons, right? No servers, like for example, it's a big one too. You won't ever lose access to this game. For example, Concord, right? If, say, for example, you actually liked Concord, you can't play it anymore. The servers are gone. Sure, you got your refund, but if you actually enjoyed the game, you can't play it anymore. The servers are offline. It needs servers. This game does not require servers. It's strictly PvE co-op with peer-to-peer. So, say, for example, if Fundog literally disappeared, got Thanos snapped overnight, you could still play the game for what it is. And theoretically, too, modders could pick up the slack eventually. Is it easy to mod for right now? Probably not. But it's probably doable if you really like the game enough. Yeah, I get it. Oh my god, LAN parties. I could see it. Let's do SMG. We haven't done one in a while. The Spectre's not bad, I will say. The Spectre actually, I feels like fits the setting too in some regards. But like the big one for me, like this is the gun for me that like almost like fits the theme perfectly of the setting, right? At least for some of the factions. Like this stamped SMG feels almost perfect. No, this is not an M45. It's APC-9 Pro. It's basically just it's a 9mm SMG and a very M45 kind of aesthetic to it. Yeah, the P90, I will say, actually, like, it doesn't feel fully done yet, but it definitely feels like they are trying to kind of make it, well, this is like the main rifle for Eurasia, right? And so we might see a little bit more things in the future to kind of like upgrade this a bit more. The big thing to consider too, right, is a lot of these assets, they acquired a lot of these assets from the store, right? These parts, these assets, these guns from the store. When you're a small indie company, right, you only have so many artists you can actually have on staff. And would you rather have the artists make cool units that are for your setting, or would you rather make guns? Yeah, PM9 over here. You can only get this. This is not the base one though. Let's go to the base one. I think you can get these from gachas and the donation box. It's actually not bad, fully upgraded too. 50 rounds and a silencer. So it's basically just like it's essentially just a kitted out VTAS. All right, 45. Yeah, that's the whole thing too, right? Of like when you're doing like aftermarket stuff, or you're doing like asset purchases from different people, they're not always going to mesh together perfectly. it's you who gets a quest for that. Let's see here. I'm pretty sure it's Eureka who gives it. Come on. Show me the quest. Almost like assuredly it's, I think, Eureka who gives it, or Europa who gives it. There we go. Perfect. Swamp, scavenger camp. That's the nice thing, too, I will say about this map, is the quests, there's enough POIs on this map that you can play it in a lot of different ways, and you can pass by POIs or different areas of the map without actually experiencing those areas and come back to them later and actually experience them, right? Like, for example, so far we've been going straight from our extract to the center to like the other side. Now we're starting from a different angle, so we're gonna see like an entirely different portion of the map essentially that we wouldn't normally see. Oh yeah, Eureka the Scar. So if you're unfamiliar, in real life we have the Scar Light, which is 556. Well, we have the Scar Heavy, which is 762 or 308. Then we have, in this lore, the Scar Super Heavy, which is 50 BMG. And then we have the Scar Ultra Heavy, which is whatever caliber the mechs fire. Looks at Europa's arsenal. It's just all scars. No, not the advanced combat rifle. No, just the Scar, the FN Scar. Yeah, oops, all scars. And to be fair, I actually don't mind it. I think it's kind of funny and also makes sense at the same time. I didn't bring any meds, did I? We'll have to find our own meds. It is like the Scar. Once you get to the 50 round mag with it, though, it is kind of fun. It just sounds appropriate. It sounds very beefy with 50 rounds. But I will say, the 50 round container for it, the 50 round magazine, almost assuredly cannot fit 50 rounds of 50 BMG. At most, I would say like 25, maybe 30. They're not feral. These are water scavs we're stealing from right now. So they're not feral per se. They're just different group of scavengers. They also do evil things like this. Like, at least give them some dignity, right? Like, have them be like restrained up. Like, why does he bend over like this? This poor guy. I guess to help drain the blood, maybe? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it is the apocalypse, right? Hello. So this is the sniper scav for these guys. He does like two-shot you like Goldbrick does. Some weird quirk though. He can't like leave this room. This door is like off limits to him. He does hurt though, so be very careful. The poor guy. That warm, fuzzy feeling. I wonder if they dope themselves with blood. Oh no, the vertical aggro. Not immediately. So when an enemy dies, they'll drop their gun in either a destroyed state which you can only sell, or a disabled state, which you can actually repair. The disabled state, it's much rarer than the destroyed state, but it does happen occasionally. So you can, but not immediately, and also not always. Yeah, and sir, I was mentioning it earlier, so like right now, the weird cylinder for aggro, it feels like a placeholder for a future system. So I can see like maybe for example, that having modifiers in the future. Say for example, it's 6 meters right now, but if that's modifiable by like say, like your container, your weapon, so on and so forth, it could be like a case where, for example, maybe pistols make you stealthier. Hey, John. Thanks for the sub. That's right. You got it going for a very long time, John. 22 buns. Oh, boy. Yeah, it's mainly just for the rarer guns, Rika, that only drop. Like, for example, these guys will drop the Vepr 12. So it's really the only way of getting Veprs in this game is to farm these guys and get a disabled gun for them. See ya, Sora. Thanks for stopping by. All right, so we need a train schedule now. So we need to go to our little center area over there. Yeah, it's like a nice, fun, casual shooter, right? It's cool and atmospheric, but it's not too stressful, right? It's not like a game like Tarkov, for example, where you feel like when you die in a raid and like you lose 30 minutes to an hour, like it actually feels like a setback because you're falling farther behind. In this game, you're only fighting versus yourself, right? Don't worry about it, man. I appreciate it, but do not worry about it. You want to sub? If you can sub, then sub. If you don't, well, no worries. Alright. Can we get over this way? I feel like this is like a death area over here. Oh, we're good, actually. There's a thing. This water is like deceptively deadly sometimes. I think if you see grass, it's fine. But if you don't see like this grass, just stay out of it. Like the center there is definitely just a pit of death. Yeah, I honestly like it. Honestly, looks like gasoline a bit, right? It's almost assuredly not gasoline, but this is very dirty water. This is called like this is basically like a fracking site too. Like they're actually fracking into the ground, so this is like probably water that's seeped up from fracking. So Jeremy, we do occasionally community streams. I don't know the schedule yet for it, but we will do eventually, but not right now. It'll be nearly in the future when we start doing community streams. We've done one in the past and it was pretty good. So the big thing we're looking for right now, actually, before we start doing that a lot more, is just fixing a few bugs in regards to lobbies. Well, traditionally in fracking, right, you just inject water or liquid into the ground to cause fissures and let oil or other liquid seep up. And it's kind of like feels like what they're doing. They're probably like, I don't think now clean water is probably rare, but I don't think water in of itself is probably rare. The oceans almost surely still exist, right? The amount of I know there's like a theory that the oceans would evaporate in nuclear war. No, not really. It's like if you want to do that in your lore, that's perfectly fine. It's not really realistic, but you don't need to be realistic in a game like this. But the oceans would not melt from a nuclear war. You might have a little bit of evaporation, but the amount of water and the amount of energy that's in the water you need to like actually have it evaporate is just too immense, right? So at the very worst, you still have abundant seawater. Now, naturally, you're salting the land if you do that, but do they care? Considering we're in the city of Los Angeles or Los Angeles also, it could be the case where they take seawater, pump into the ground to cause other liquids to come up to the surface, like oil or gas or so on and so forth. Yeah, exactly, J-Hill, right? So, like, there's almost assuredly no scenario where you're going to evaporate all of the water. What would happen, right, is if we had our atmosphere stripped. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, too, right? There's a difference between, like, having a setting where the oceans have done that versus, like, trying to be grounded in reality. If this setting wanted their oceans to be gone, sure, just lower it away. But if the only reason for that is nuclear war, it's technically not realistic. But, like, it kind of just supports the theory that, like, sure, clean water can be hard to come by, water that we can actually drink, but water for this to frack into the ground, perfectly available, right? There's no issues with having, like, these salted lakes or these salted fracking sites coming in. I honestly can't wait. Like, this genuinely feels like a site where a helicopter would come land and drop off infantry. If you're unaware, so, like, one of the downsides of the game right now is that respawns will just generally happen in front of you or close by and happen frequently. So it almost it feels kind of very gamified. Infantry just spawning near you or in front of you pulls you out of the immersion. One of their big things for Q1 they were talking about in Q&As is they're going to change or try to change most of the respawns to be dynamic and come naturally. So, like, from, like, you know, airdrops, off map, so on and so forth, and new units. So, like, seeing that helipad right there genuinely feels like, oh yeah, European chopper coming to drop off reinforcements to their oil platform. So yeah, we have a few faces like that, right? It honestly makes me think, Zombie, it could be the case if these are like 3D printed structures, it could be like almost a bug in the code, for example, where like maybe the AI thinks that, you know, oh, this is a refinery for humans, so it needs to have a human skull on it for that. I don't know, but like, yeah, it feels very weird, right? You have the skulls, and then you have the smokestack, and then you have other skulls too. It honestly feels like a bug in the programming to some extent, right? Of like the 3D printing structures. Kind of almost like corrupted, like corrupted intent. All right, I need to find more boxes. Now, they could be on the staircases too. So we're looking for boxes for Scav Scrap Part 1. And it's only gonna be the boxes on this area. That's that area. Like, that's like the biggest thing that keeps me in it too, right? For example, no matter what, despite the gameplay being Jake at times, the world itself is interesting. The art itself is interesting. I can... As long as the setting is cool, I can generally give away, for at least a while, a lot of faux pas in regards to design. Hey, no.
I can't do the calculations.
There's two. For example, back in the day, Hellgate London was a terrible fucking game, but like the atmosphere and the setting was really cool, so I stuck with it for a while. The game eventually got shut down because it was like literally a trash can and no one liked it, but like I could like almost RP in my head because it was such a cool setting, despite the gameplay and like the gameplay loops and everything else being pretty shit. All right, there's our third. Now, yeah, I'm not sure if the ones down there will have them, but definitely the ones on the fracking site will have them. Yeah, like Hellgate London was a really cool like set. Like I think it relaunched. I never tried it again. Like it's a game I could stick to, but a game I wouldn't go back to, right? Yeah, Diego, he's exactly right. Just overtime corruption. Kind of like the melding of different tools or tasks. Say, for example, okay, I made a mistake, by the way. I just took cigarettes for once. But I forgot to, the cardinal rule is you never take the staircase. The staircase is always death. God, cigarettes, man. I'm so dead. Yeah. Yeah, never, always take the elevator, never take the staircase. I totally forgot. That staircase is always death now. But yeah, Diego, on your point, for example, right? You have like, if the same manufacturers were to make like statues and also smokestacks, they eventually come like, oh, this is a tall structure. This is a tall structure. They're basically the same. See a zombie. Yeah, don't smoke on the staircase. Also, cigarettes are just useless, by the way, except for Ludroth now, or not Ludroth, Lordros. Yeah, like, so cigarettes drain you for 200 HP. The biggest thing, though, about cigarettes is you cannot use any other consumable while you're under the effects of cigarettes, so you can't heal. It is quite painful. All right, what ammo do I have? 545. I do. Let me buy an AK. Hey, Aramaki. Buy 3 of you. Yeah, well, just that too. Like, I don't see it changing anytime soon. I'm really not a big fan of the current way we use consumables. The set bars and so on and so forth, and like having to cycle through just feels really awkward at times. Where are you? Okay. At least one plus side is we can actually just start at the injection well. Well, that's the yeah, cool guy. So John, yeah, exactly right. It would just replace like glacier melt if it was evaporated too, for nuking the oceans. Yeah, like in you can explain it away. Like the biggest thing that would do it right would, if we lost our atmosphere, granted we would be dead anyway, right? If we lost the atmosphere, you would eventually, over a very long period of time, have the ocean stripped away. But we're talking about like millions of years, though, I'm pretty sure, right? Because eventually, essentially what would happen, right, if the Earth like lost its ability to like have a manosphere, atmosphere gets stripped away by the sun, solar wind, and over like millions and millions of years, right, eventually the oceans would evaporate away. But like such a long time span for that to happen.
I hate the surface.
Yeah. But what essentially happens, right, is you lose atmosphere, water evaporates, it gets pulled away. It's kind of like Mars, right? Mars back in the day theoretically had moving, like, actually oceans, right? But had a very weak or non-existent magnetosphere because its iron core just, you know, solidified. Atmosphere got stripped away, and over millions and billions and billions of years, water went away. Off into space. But yeah, cool guy. The amount of item bloat for consumables too just makes having to like navigate through it with 3 just a very much of a pain. All right, we're looking for containers up here. It's probably gonna be on the staircase again, but at least I have meds this time. There, moving up top. Let's call the elevator up so we can go down if we need to. Oh yeah, this map gives me like this map is really good. But it also makes me hate Cemetery so much more. Like, I didn't hate Cemetery before this map came out, I just disliked it. Now I actually just genuinely hate Cemetery. When you show me what you can make with this, it makes the maps you made before so much just more... Ugh. Like Mausoleum, Scorched Enclave, Mesa, sure, but like, Cemetery. A month before this map, Cemetery was put out. And Cemetery is awful in comparison to this map. Yeah, Underground Cemetery, Rico. Are you on the floor? I think you're on the... Oh, you're probably on the pipes, actually. I don't know this. Like, here's the thing, though. Even if they do... Like, even in a perfect world... Say, for example, if they were able to replace the dog's AI with Alien's AI... Like, remove dog, replace the dog with Alien from Alien Isolation, and then put him on that map with you, it still would feel bad because it would feel the same after multiple playthroughs, right? Like, the problem with Cemetery is there's no variation in how you play the map because the map is basically linear. Unlike this map actually has so many different branching like permutations. It can change constantly how you navigate through the map. That map is always just like a straight shot through the map. And just how you avoid the creature you're trying to avoid. Which is the same every single time. Because the map, that map plays it. How dare you? Spawn in front of me like that. So, the weird thing about Nexus, though, I will say, Nexus actually allows for different playstyles a lot more than Cemetery does. So, you can try being stealthy. You can actually be occasionally stealthy on Nexus. You can try different approaches to Nexus where you just go run and gunning. You can try a little bit of both. Because of how the dog currently works on that map, you're almost assuredly always playing the same way where you try to be stealthy no matter what. There's never a scenario where you just go guns blazing on that map, right? And like, Nexus also feels like, too, like a map where you just go in and you just kill it's like a straight, like, you get it and get out, right? And like the journey of that map is the different permutations of getting in and getting out you have, depending on the variants too, right? Remember, Nexus has 3 variants. We're going up, I think. I hate this staircase so much. No, it doesn't. Not right now. I don't know why I keep I keep crouching. It might help visually, though. You can shoot the dog ISO, but you cannot kill the dog. At the very best, all you can do is kind of stagger the dog a little bit. There's normal night, and there's another normal variant on Nexus. So you have an orange variant, and then you have a clear, like a white variant on that map. The orange variant of Nexus will be mainly Europa and Euruska fighting, and occasionally some Eurasian units. And then when you're playing the normal white variant of the map, it's only Euruska and Eurasian.
The only time you'll ever see a European unit on the regular variant of Nexus is when you have the quest for assassins. Yeah, I personally rarely get the night variant of Nexus. And I usually don't often get the orange variant, but it happens. It does, like, so right now, if you're unfamiliar with the changes last patch, a big thing last patch basically was they didn't announce it, so it feels unintentional. Every character right now has a 6 meter radius around them that goes from the floor to the moon. So anything inside of that 6 meter radius will start detecting you and very quickly aggro. And because it doesn't have a ceiling, it makes things like staircases feel awful, because the units above the staircase will aggro to you before they even see you. And sometimes they'll come down and start shooting you. And keep in mind too, so that's the only modifiers to that 6 meter radius right now are sprinting, which seems about 50%. So for example, if I sprint, that 6 meters now goes to 9 meters approximately. And the other thing is, if you're Gunhead, that base is 12 meters. So Gunhead has a 12 meter radius around him where he'll aggro anything in that radius, regardless of walls, terrain, or height. And there's only malices right now, right? The sprint malice or the Gunhead malice, there's nothing beneficial to that system. So crouching does nothing, weapons do nothing, your rig or your weight does nothing, your character does nothing. And those are all things that could actually be beneficial modifiers in the future, right? Say, for example, crouching modifies it. Say, for example, playing Scabgirl modifies it. Say, for example, having a pistol out modifies it. Say, if you're using a smaller container, it modifies it. And so, for example, if you want to play stealthy gameplay, maybe it's about your loadout too. Yeah, it shouldn't be a cylinder. It just feels like an oversight. And the weird thing is too, right? We're currently experiencing the like kind of the results, right? We don't know the implementation. All we know is the results. So the intent from this system could be very far away from what we're experiencing. It's just like it could just be digitally a bug or a quirk right now. There's the design, there's an implementation, and there's the result, right? And we only see the result, right? We don't know the design, and we don't know the implementation, right? Or I guess you could say, instead of design, the intent.
It's like Christmas came early.
Yeah, Ashira, for sure. Like, you can play Cemetery, like, the first thing is you usually can't play Cemetery with Gunhead. Gunhead just aggro's too much stuff through walls to play Gunhead, but other characters can. The 6 meters is fine enough, basically. So if we go over to, say, for example, like a character like Bagman, right? So the perk about Bagman, right, is the dog's one-shot mechanic is only for when you are below 2k HP. So as long as you're above 2k HP, the dog cannot one-shot you, it can only slap you around a little bit. So if we play a character like, for example, we don't need that many medkits, like Bagman here, we can actually play the map and be perfectly fine for the most part, as long as we don't take too much damage with dog being nearby. As long as we basically stay topped off, we're okay. No, not that I've noticed, really. I didn't really notice any AI improvements. The only thing that's really been improved, really, or changed is just the aggro. Sorry, so I take that back, actually. There's the aggro radius we talked about, but it also seems to be aggro queuing to some extent, right? Where squads will keep you in memory a lot longer, or just actually now, than they were before. And what I mean by that, for example, right? say for example, we have one squad of Europans fighting a squad of Eruskans, and they're currently locked in combat. If we run by those two squads and they notice us, they won't shoot us immediately, but they'll put us in a queue for aggro, essentially, right? And so when their big first target's done, say for example the Eruskans kill the Europans, they'll go on to their next unit in the queue, which is us, and they'll start shooting us. And the problem is right now is the game doesn't notify you at all that you're in the queue of aggro. So like, you might be across the map. If the unit's still on the map and spawned, and you're the next unit in aggro, it could be like 30 seconds after you ran by them, they'll start shooting you, and it will feel really weird, but for them, it's just shooting their next unit that they saw, right? Which was you. You ran by them a while ago. All right. Funk, we haven't heard anything from the devs yet. We're assuming they're still on holiday. I'm guessing the next Monday it's gonna be the first day back. I don't know though, just a guess. And generally speaking too, we haven't really ever seen them comment on something like this before. I'm not sure if they would. Maybe in a Q&A they might. But it would be a different protocol for them to start addressing things like this. We might see a hotfix for it or a hotfix change, but it's very rare to actually like for them to like just on like a community note say, oh hey, this thing that's happening right now is not intentional. We're changing it or trying to fix it. No problem. I actually really do like the quest line though too for that, right? I would love to see a moving train eventually on that map. There's a bridge you can lower too. Go back to that after this. Oh, whatever. I can only find one right now. We'll just do one. Yeah. And to be fair, like, I have seen a few comments around. It's pretty rare. But, like, people have, I don't know why, bashed them for doing Q&As. It's such a shitty thing, right? In the sense of, it's not a lot of time out of the day for the devs to sit down and talk for 30 minutes. Like, if you've never done programming, right? Sure, getting your work interrupted by 30 minutes and having to get back into the flow is a bitch sometimes. But in the grand scheme of things, sitting down and talking for 30 minutes it's not gonna cost you a feature down the road for having two devs to talk for half an hour. And so these comments in the on the Discord is like, stop doing Q&As, get back to work. Is like, really? Do you not know how the workflow of these software companies are? Have you never done programming yourself? It's like 30 minutes is nothing. Anyway, I digress. But you are right. They seem to do much more acting than talking.
All in a day's work.
All right, so if you're unfamiliar, this is my favorite spot about this map. Yeah, the Q&A is still work, but it's work for a different person, though. It's work for their PR person or their QA or their community person, right? Like, it's not a developer editing the videos for Q&A. It's their front person, their community person doing that, right? The person hosting the videos and talking to them, right? That's the person actually doing the editing. Like, you're not gonna put a programmer on editing a video. That's entirely two different things.
Your targets.
Also, case in point of cylinder. In the previous patch, they would never notice us up here. But now, as you can see, they're aggroing to us through a wall. So if you want proof of a cylinder, here it is. So I feel like you all know that too, though. Mushi, it is very weird to be, like, it feels almost trollish, like, it feels disingenuous, like they're actually just trying to be rage bait. Okay, so we do need to find our logbook. It can spawn over there. Can I actually tag you? I don't think I can. Hold on. Oh, yeah, it's there. Hey, dog. problem, Carrie. Glad to hear it.
Bring the rain.
All right, they're all dead. Dog is angry.
We get home without you.
So, as you can see right now, there's two like glowing weak spots now on the side of its head that I don't feel like they were there before last patch. So, as long as I stay above 2k HP, I'm fine. There's a book. Okay, with this door being closed, by the way, technically the dog should be locked in now. And I should have free roam of the rest of the map. But what can happen though is the dog will just teleport into this main hallway here and act as normal. He's still very angry. Keep in mind, that door is closed. We'll go up over here too and see if this door is closed also. Now, the dog can't path through this door, but that seems to be more like a bug with pathing than anything else. This door here is locked off to it, but that door is closed. So that is so... I'll show you in a second when I find a new container.
Don't
All right.
lose track of it.
So the thing to note here, right, is you want to hit tab once. And as you can notice, there's now a blue outline around the loot all. So a few of the menus you can actually tab through and highlight certain things. And if you open a container and hit tab once, it will highlight loot all. And then if you hit space, it will do that loot all for you. So you open the container, you hit tab once, you hit loot, and then you hit space, that loot's all for you. Personally, I kind of think they should change that, mainly because I think loot all is a bit too strong, but that's just me. That's kind of more of a nitpicky thing than anything else. That could be that's a cool implementation too, right, Kenzel? I didn't think about that. I don't mind like just like taking everything and shoving it into your backpack. I like that concept, but I almost feel like there needs to be more junk loot for that, right? Yeah, so if once you verify your game, I think you need to verify your game and select your region. You will get access to like LFGNA, for example, for me, right? So I believe, I can't remember where exactly you select it, right? You verify your ownership, you probably select your region, and it'll give you an LFG channel for your region. They might have removed the need for verifying ownership, but I can't recall. They might have did it for the demo, perhaps. But yeah, once you select a region, you should get access to an LFG channel. If not, verify your game. All right, it should be an officer in the front here who needs to probably die pretty quickly. Yeah, it's always fun, right? You learn very quickly your priority targets, the officers. I think it's cool, right? Having targets like that is actually kind of a cool feature. It's like, oh yeah, like the officer needs to die first. It has a grenade launcher. Kill it. Kill it with fire.
An exit. Otherwise.
All right. Let's go do our part 2 now of the scav quest. It's so like, if you didn't know, I'll show you too, but you can actually lower a bridge there too. Large moving structures in the background or on the map would be so freaking cool. Like seeing actual trains in that map would be awesome. So atmospheric also. Could be quests like stop the train too, or like sabotage the bridge, the train crashes. So cool. Only visually, Carrie, right now. Only visually. So it's like if you crouch and it hides your character visually from another unit, it will help, but it won't stop the 6 or 12 meter aggro radius. There's one. We should have access to 2 now because we did the quest. There we go. Part 2. So for this, we'll go over to Frozen Swamp and we'll go over to Titan Wreck. So Carrie, that's kind of the thought behind the aggro radius right now. It's supposed to be a precursor to like an auditory system, or it's supposed to represent audio. So like right now, there's not an audio system except for like shooting your guns. If you're shooting an unsilenced gun, it will attract attention. So that's kind of auditory in that regard. But like, it feels like the aggro radius right now is probably supposed to be like a placeholder for sound, I would think. And they start doing modifiers like rigs and then like crouching and so on and so forth. Like I could definitely see it being like a placeholder or like a start of a better like audio system. Because they can't justify why it would exist otherwise, right? Why it would go through walls, why it would do other things like that. If it's supposed to be sound, it would make sense. The cylinder is an oversight, but like the going through walls is, like makes it feel like something like that, right? Yeah, the biggest thing to consider too, and they're very aware of this also. They've talked about it in Q&As multiple times at this point. Like the performance impact of certain things, right? Because they can't offload anything to a server like Tarkov could, right? Like there's no servers in the game, so everything has to be run locally on your machine. Like hard drive space wise, Holy Knight? Hard drive wise, it's probably gets like 90-ish gigs right now, maybe 87, somewhere in there. It's a pretty sizable game, yeah. Yeah. The downside's the visual fidelity. Textures take a lot of space. It seems to. I'm not sure what it is about Unreal Engine 5 yet. But it just seems like Unreal Engine 5 does not like compression. Or it just seems that like whenever I get an Unreal Engine 5 game, it's always large just because it's never compressed. But yeah, so we can actually lower the bridge here. It's slow and has no audio yet, but it is cool. And honestly too, stuff like this would be really awesome as like ways of locking off areas. All it does is really give you a shortcut, but like having stuff like this giving you access to like high loot areas would be very cool. I actually haven't tried getting up here before, by the way. I wanted to do it before it got locked off. It is kind of eerie doing it silently, right? No sound at all. Also, why can't I what's it called? Cannonball down here? I want overgrown now. It's, yeah, more pipes. I don't think I can get up here though. Maybe I had a jump. But I think this is too steep naturally. Maybe not actually, holy shit. More verticality, please. Right there. And like I can guarantee you like these aren't real, but like imagine that, right? Like you get up here, there's actually like a plank leading there to there. Like Easter egg spots like that would be so cool. But most of these pipes are like mostly real, but not always real. Yeah, I mean, I do have critiques about the water system we talked about earlier, but no, yeah, it's early access, right? People definitely, it's partially on early access though too, right? Early access is now currently such a vague definition. You have games that like are basically in late betas, really only QA testing using early access, and then you have games in like very much an alpha stage being early access, and they all use the exact same title. Just early access, so it's super confusing for a consumer who's not well aware of the vast differences of early access titles or what they should be expecting. Like for example, Subnautica, right? If you played Subnautica early access, like there were like you couldn't actually complete the game. There was entire areas missing. Like you only had access to a few of the starter biomes, right? In early access Subnautica, and then you have like another early access game, right, which is basically just a Q&A, another Q&A pass. Yeah, that's what I thought. You can't naturally get up here, I think, is it slides you down. So the only way to get up there is actually to get up there while it's getting lowered. And then you had games like, for example, like Ready or Not, right? Ready or Not, for example, was early access, but like Ready or Not had all of its systems in place, but it was just adding more content, like maps and stuff and weapons and stuff and missions. So just like people use EA for different things. And so for a regular consumer, it's probably really confusing what to expect out of EA. Yeah, they for a lack of a better word, they've definitely watered it down over time, right? They've watered down the mechanics so much that it's basically meaningless. Like at launch, water was actually a thing you needed to consider, but naturally, right, no one really liked it. It was easy to farm water, but at the same time, for casual players. But they added more and more to basically water down the system and make it more basically meaningless. So that doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything anymore, basically. Just get water bots and you ignore it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand the philosophical argument around water in regards that you shouldn't be punished for not playing a game, which I 100% fully, hey, no, which I fully agree with. And like the other thing about it too, right, is because it has no other meaning right now, right? Water, for a survival game, water feels meaningless. For a game where like its actual trailer for the game is about scavenging water, water feels meaningless. It never feels like you're having a tension around water. And like one way of doing that, right, is kind of almost making it like a city builder in some regard. If you're unfamiliar with city builders, right, city builders' whole thing is about resource management / like spending resources to get other resources and balancing the economy, right? They don't need to go that hard into it, but like at least including some aspects of city builders around, you know, balancing your usage of water with what you have unlocked and so on and so forth, can add at least a little bit of tension to the game. No, Wang, it is broken. Like, yeah. If you go to my December patch video, basically at this point, and just go to the very last section, it covers the whole new AI system, basically. Yeah, well, the problem is it doesn't make it feel alive, right? The core issue is this. No matter what, when you have someone who plays 1 hour a week or 2, like, we'll keep it simple, right? When a game, like, a person who plays 1 hour a week and 2 hours a week, right? They're going to have vastly different amounts of water. And you can't balance around both of those players. If you want the mechanic to feel meaningful and you want to balance it and have it be scarce, right? There's almost no way to probably reasonably balance it between the person who plays twice as much as the other. So you have to remove it from that mattering. And the way you do that is you entirely remove the fact that it basically goes off the how much you play a week, right? Make it literally per mission you play. You could make it more nitty-gritty than you want, for example, right? Like, shilling for myself again. Hold on. Like, for example, a day cycle on a water, like you have a day and night cycle, right? You basically break it up into an actual segment where it's not about how much you play, it's about how good you are when you're playing the game, how much you can survive. You can go as slow as you want because 1 raid or 2 raids is basically 1 day, right? You shouldn't feel rushed in raid, but you need to make those raids count. It's not about how fast you are, it's about how efficient you are, how you make the raids count. It's about surviving the raids, right? When you, in a cycle like this, right, for example, dying right now in game, you lose your gear. Big deal, whoops. But you don't lose anything of consequence for dying, right? There's no risk to dying outside the gear you brought. But if you take it over to a day cycle, right, you dying isn't just you not bringing home water that day, it's you losing a days of water in your innards. So there's that incentive, right, to actually survive, play safe, not die. Because losing that day from you dying is both a blow in regards to getting water and consuming water. It honestly basically creates a reason why you want to play slow and survive. It makes the survival percentage about this. It makes surviving more important than being time efficient and just doing run-throughs, right? Like, for example, a lot of the early game guides for this game, right, were about going to Scorched Enclave and just running in, grabbing water, and leaving, and not caring if you died, because most of the time you will survive and you'll get out with always a net positive, right? Because it's time efficient out of game. But imagine, for example, if you didn't have to worry about time in Scorched Enclave, you know, you might need to prioritize different things, different runs, right? Say, for example, oh, I need water, but I also need this other supply here that's in a different area. I have conflicting priorities. And that's a cool thing too, right? It actually, or insert, it creates scenarios like that where it feels tense because, say, for example, you have a real bad run of bad luck, right? And you need to survive and you need to get water out. You now have this like extra weight bearing down on you, right? This kind of not anxiety per se, but this tension that's missing from the game a lot, right? Is like, oh, like I'm low on water. We need to survive. We need to get out here. We might need to make some compromises, right? Say, for example, if I go back to here, right? You have to compensate in for people who maybe don't live as much, right? So maybe you start taking some penalties, right? You start, you know, diluting your water to get more out of it, right? So you lose some HP. You're not trying to fight, right? So HP is not a big deal. You're trying to, you know, survive. So you basically dirty your own water with dirty water so you can actually try and stretch out your supplies more. Or say, for example, you tax your loot, right? Say, for example, you barter for, you talk to a trader, right? The trader will give you a couple water to get by, like they give you like 3 or 4 water, but the deal is like they're going to tax your next loot runs, right? A certain amount, or until they get their cost back, perhaps. Or, for example, you can do like a water levy, where you lose reputation with the scavengers because you're literally giving them a water tax, but you're able to survive a bit more. You reduce your consumption. There's so many different ways to explore that, right? You can, and that's like the whole thing about like not having just a strictly PvP extraction shooter that's online and has servers. You can do cool, unique things like this and explore different genres in this genre by having it be PvE and offline and not wipe progress every couple months like Tarkov does. Tarkov has to wipe the game to feel fresh and to equalize the playing ground, right? Tarkov has never solved the issue of how you deal with people who play more than others. The only way they know how to do it is to wipe the game to keep it fresh. Same thing with Rust, right? Like games like Rust, they have to wipe the game or wipe the servers, depending on, it might be a private server too, like 7 days, 14 days, because people get ahead and there's no means to compete anymore, right? You don't have to worry about that here in this game because it's PvE and also doesn't have any of those features, right? So you can explore different things. Anyway. Not talking for now, let's get some more playing going. Well, short, yeah. That's something you can do too, like in regards to by making water consumption variable depending on things like upgrades and NPCs you have in your innards. They can do different drops, right? Like you can have like the regular water barrels, you could have dirty water, you could have different types of water that give you different amounts of water and different types of water if you wanted to go that route, right? If they wanted to flush it out that much, they perfectly could. And like, keep in mind, right, when we're talking about this, like a system like this, right, throw the current economy out, right? Don't think of one barrel as one day. Think of one barrel containing X amount of water, right? One thing I always wanted to see in this game is siphoning water, not picking it up. It creates tense scenarios, right? Say, for example, you go to a high risk area that actually has giant water bottles you can siphon out of to fill yours up. Perfect. You could make it too, for example, right? Say, for example, if I have a water barrel on my back, that's exposed to gunfire. If I'm running away and get shot in the back, what if they put a hole in my water barrel? Oh no, my water's spilling out. That's pretty bad, right? Another incentive for stealth, right? It could be like, I don't want to die, but it's also, I don't want to get the stuff I just picked up damaged. Anyway. Let's do a mesa. I haven't done a mesa in a while. Where you at, Goldbrick? There we are. And where are you? Optics. Our little 4 times here. Really, it always feels weird, right? The weird runs of just luck. It does always seem to come in flurries, though, right, Dirk? When you get eclipsed, you get it a few times in a row, and then you'll never see it again for like a month. Oh, we're gonna make a little more. That should be plenty. Let's bring our jump. I will say, like, outside of the new map, I think Mesa is still my favorite map, though. Outside of the new map. Mesa's so great. It's a beautiful experience, like, once you play a map twice or enough times to see the two variants, like, because it's like, it just changes things immediately, right? It's a very cool feeling. Like, my first time from going Scorched to Graveyard Scorched, I was like, what the fuck? This is awesome. It's a very cool feature to have variants like that. Keeps it fresh, too.
If you lose contact, crew, stay there. We'll find you.
Yeah, the Eclipse variant on this map, and then the Graveyard variant of Ashen Mesa. I'm not sure, Ashen Mesa, Scorched Enclave. There are, yeah. Not all maps have variants, but most maps will have a variant or two. Scrapyard has 3. Mesa Enclave have 2 each. 1 variant, the normal variant, the regular the night variant. Mech Trenches is, I think, the only one that doesn't have any yet. Though there is no variant yet for the new map also. I haven't seen one yet. So the new map and then Mech Trench do not have any variants yet. I think the biggest thing is the maps that are almost like mostly European focused, because there's not a lot of European night shift units yet, if any at all. They seem to not want to do those night shifts for those maps yet, because Mech Trench is almost purely European. Same thing with the main area in the new map is mainly European. All right, so no Goldbrick over there. We do have our, actually we got, okay. There's Goldbrick. Hello. Yep. He hit me, I hit him, but I won. All right, Goldbrick is dead. He chonks you so hard. I like the raids. The problem with most maps is the pacing. The new map is the only map I feel like that gets the pacing perfect. Of like a properly sized time raid. It's like, not every map needs to be like the new map, but every map needs to have similar pacing to that map, I feel like. It's paced very well. And what I mean by that, right, is traveling through the map takes time and takes a degree of playing stealthy or playing safe, right? If you're way too cavalier with how you go around that map, that new map, you can end up in very bad spots from aggro or drones and other units like that because it's dangerous. Unlike this map, right, there's so much dead space in this map, you can just sprint through the middle of the map and get around in transit without a care in the world, really. And if they, for example, filled in, like, not don't do this, but as an example, right, filled in these empty areas with water, like on the new map, basically areas where you can't transport through but still give volume or space to the map, it makes us have to pass through certain areas so they can kind of plan those encounters more. Essentially, this map is almost too open, but it fills a purpose though in being this open, right? It's supposed to be basically a giant mech battlefield area, right? I'm in danger. I need to go over here. Yeah, you can kill Goldbrick in other ways, but like, so Goldbrick will spawn here. He'll occasionally spawn here. He'll also spawn over down here sometimes. I really like it when he spawns over here. Like, so you actually have like, this is like the one instance in this game where you can actually snipe. So in this game right now, units will not spawn far away for performance reasons. So if we run over there right now, a bunch of units will spawn, but when we're on top of here, the only units that we'll see over there are quest units. So it's the only real time you get to snipe in this game is via quests. Yeah, like the pacing of Elephant isn't bad. It's just the problem with Elephant. It has kind of the similar issue, HKs, to Cemetery, where it plays very similarly consistently, right? The ways you navigate through that map are almost always the same. And because of that, you don't see any variation in the map, really. Yep, anything that can spawn over there, you can snipe, basically. It just depends on if they spawn over there. I imagine we'll see it in the reinforcement update coming. They said Q1 this year, so if we see a massive reinforcement overhaul, I can definitely see HKs being deployed differently come Q1. So later this quarter. I would say March. I wouldn't say any sooner than that, to be honest. But I wouldn't say no to surprises though. But yeah, with the reinforcement update, right, I can imagine like new waves of HKs coming down, so on and so forth. They do know that like the spawns currently are a giant pain point of the game. Did you know that at long range, grenades actually have some aim assist, by the way? So if you're unfamiliar, Tormentor actually has a grenade launcher. And so if you hit Tormentor from across the map and don't kill him, he'll actually start shooting at you from across the map with grenades, and you can actually see them track you across the map. They're not quick, but they will move and adjust accordingly to where you go. Ow, I'm gonna die here. This is so bad. This is so bad. So I am jumping because there's cyborgs behind me, and if I don't jump, they'll hit me. I know it looks weird, but it is for a reason. I cannot move faster than cyborgs, so I avoid them by jumping. Alright, I'm out of meds. This is not good. Time to leave. Ow. Where did... fucking snipers. Run away. No. Ludo, I wanted to see if you're still here. I knew you'd comment if I did. I have won. I have proven that you're still here. All right, this is gonna hurt a little bit. It shouldn't kill us. I hurt actually a little bit. Yeah, Bagman is not quick. Bagman is a very slow boy. All right, there's the range cyborgs. I'm kind of not happy to see. Sounds like it, yeah. I don't like that either. Those are the HKs.
Watch our backs.
Oh, I'm gonna die here. They're hitting me ever so often. Please no. Oh, HKs never change. Yeah, no med life. We did like manage to aggro, so we were using 2 unsilenced guns, by the way. Dangerous. We were sprinting around, also dangerous. To be fair, I'm surprised we lived in that little like street for a bit too. That street looked very deadly. We did not kill the grenade guys either. They were still behind us somewhere. They probably just de-aggroed or got distracted. If I had meds, I'd be him. Just out of meds. You can never have enough meds. I think it's time for the scar. Wait, hold on here. Actually, I think it's actually time. I believe it's time. Let's go talk to Bundleton. We only have 6, so it's unfortunate we're missing 2. Oh, I thought I had 8. So sad. It'll work though. Actually, weirdly enough, for this strat, it's probably better to actually run Gunhead. I know it probably feels a bit weird, but the reason to run Gunhead is you can actually use an SMG. And when you're running the rack, SMGs are actually important. Oh no, Eustace, that's a very common critique of the game. Is that, yeah, you are very much too strong. You can deal with too much. Right now, I think it's mainly due to the medkits, I would say. I shouldn't be bringing. The medkits are too strong. Like, you can take so much damage and just heal it with a medkit and be perfectly fine. Like, that's probably the biggest thing, really. Medkits are indeed OP. Yeah, the advanced medkits, you can basically heal through most things in the game with an advanced medkit on you. You can, with painless advanced medkit and Bagman, you can basically just kill an exo by yourself. Well, okay, I say medkits are an issue, but you also gotta understand too, like medkits are a way of alleviating a lot of the pains of early access, right? A lot of the jank is forgiven because of medkits. Like, a lot more casual players would feel a lot worse, or feel like would probably critique the game a lot more if medkits weren't so forgiving. Because of how janky the game is at times and how kind of unfair it is at times. They're so floppy. Every time, they're just so floppy. Yeah, Psionic, one big thing is like just adding animations by themselves could be a huge thing. Sorry. Oh yeah, they can't, the scramblers, so weirdly enough, the turrets can't actually shoot scramblers. But yeah, like animations, other things like that, like giving reasons to stay in cover for medkits would be nice, right? Yeah, it's really fun too when you see these turrets start shooting drones, because you can see how floppy they are. Here they are. Because I'm using the rack right now. I'm out of got head ammo. This falls over. Bad scrambler. Come here, you. I will win this fight. There we go. Hello? Sir? You okay? Where are you going? Honestly, very fair, Roland. Quite fair. Oh, cool, gotcha. Time to be very stealthy. And it's an officer. All right, one officer down. So at most you'll see 2 officers on this map at this very start. On this variant of it. If there's civilians down here, prisoners, you don't usually see any of them, but just be cautious. Yeah, they're not aggro just yet. They're using a silenced gun. Let me go ahead and bring them over there. Come on, coming out. That's the thing too, also, like, Loadout, the prevalence of water availability just seems like so weird, right? It's so easily farmable. All right, you're a little tanky today. Imagine when they put armor in the game and like 9mm can't even hurt these guys. Thankfully it's only 3 of them now, Roland. It's just 3 little scabby boys in your base now. The Loadout, yeah, the reason why I brought 9mm too, because you could bring like a bazillion of it with the rack. I will say, I would love for a feature of, like, so LMGs right now are usually just the same or worse rifles. It'd be really cool if there was ammo large item slots that could feed into HMGs or LMGs. So you could basically have a reason for these large item slots. Like, basically imagine having like a giant belt in one of these fed to your gun. Would be very cool. My full note, not even close. Sir? You dead? No, you're not. More friends. It would give a clear reason too and why LMGs would be better than rifles for the characters who can wield them, and give more reasons to wear like weapons like or racks like this. Hello, everyone. I'll just trying to leave. We're pretty hurt. The only time I actually use the rack is when I want to bring 9 turrets in, or sorry, 8 turrets in. It makes me so sad that he spawned too. Did he get too far away? So sad. Yeah, like Ramen, that's for sure too. Like the people like commenting on the Discord, most of the bad actors at this point are pretty much gone or don't go through the process of getting to the Discord and getting verified. So it does. You will occasionally still have bad actors in the feedback section, but it's usually just actually honest critiques at this point, which is quite nice to hear. Quite nice to see, like actual discussion and so on and so forth, as opposed to just like water system bad lol. Maybe that's a good thought, Rico. Like having NPCs there and deploying them. It might be detached from that, but it's an interesting thought for sure. I will say though, the AI NPCs are very quirky. Quite quirky. I think we're due for a Scorched Enclave. I haven't done Enclave enough. Yeah, no, well, that's just the general, like, trend of things, right, to this kind? Of, like, people are much more inclined to leave negative feedback than positive. Especially on Reddit. Reddit's just, Reddit's like a cesspool. Like, don't get me wrong, I use Reddit all the time, but it does just attract people who want to be negative about things. Without being critical. So, for example, I have something to admit. I do play Star Citizen. But with that being said, I can also admit that the game's basically a scam at the same time. I enjoy it because I love early access gameplay that's rough and janky. But for anyone else, I'll basically say this game's basically almost a scam. But when you get on things like Reddit, for example, right, people just say, lol, this game scam. It has its merits, right? But like, people just want to, they're very buzzwordy on Reddit, right? They don't try to be objective about things. A game can be a scam and like basically not worth your money, but also interesting at the same time. Yeah, Dirk, right? Like, would I ever recommend someone to get into Star Citizen? God, no. Do I enjoy it myself? Yes. Do you enjoy taking $100 bills in front of your face and lighting them on fire? You might enjoy Star Citizen. Do you enjoy trying to play a game for 8 hours and not being able to play it? Star Citizen. Oh no, Carrie, I don't think I ever will. I enjoy the game enough to still play it, but I don't think it's ever gonna get there, to be honest. I'm a doomer in that regard, but I still enjoy the journey, right? I would love to have them prove me wrong. Don't get me wrong. So Connor, reinforcements for sure, which they're already working on. Like, the pop-in spawns is a very big detracting experience for a lot of players. It pulls you out of the immersion immediately when you see something popping in front of you. So 100%, they're already working on it too. Like, get the pop-in removed. Only things have things spawn in organic ways, right? Funk Monk, they just put up the preview for it, basically. So server meshing is just being introduced now after, like, what, 4 years? Meanwhile, you have things like Ashes of Creation, which is, to be fair, a much simpler game, but they had server meshing almost immediately, right? Well, not immediately. Ashes has been, like, development for, like, what, 4, 5, 6 years? And their alpha now has, like, full server meshing. Yeah, it's always that weird paradigm, right? When you get crowdfunded, it's just a money pit too. The problem is Chris Roberts also. Don't get me wrong, he has really cool ideas. And that's always the risk though too of ideas. It's really easy to say cool things. Like, for example, us talking about a water system, right? It's really easy to say cool things that you would like to have, but when it comes to the tax of actually implementing them, some things need to be left by the wayside, right? And the problem with Chris Roberts, though, is he can't do that. He can't be objective and be like, oh, yeah, this is going to push us like a year behind. We can't do this. This is outside. He is the king of scope creep, right? No project will ever be finished with Chris Roberts at the head. Whether you think it's a blessing or a curse is up to you. But it basically creates money pits and projects, right? And that's essentially what Star Citizen is a money pit. It's a really cool money pit if you're into that sort of thing. But it is... They basically put themselves into a hole where they need to milk their whales. They need to milk the people who are willing to be milked, essentially. We need a different rig. And Star Citizen and Squadron 42 by example, right? I don't. Oh, Concord was a money pit too, right? Concord was like Concord. I think has the same issues though too. Star Citizen has, where they change what the game wants to be, X years in development, right? I don't really want to be him, do I? I want to be a different character. Let's go over to Masked Man. You know, Concord did too. Concord was also apparently a giant money pit. D4R. Oh, good call. We're currently... We will next time. Unfortunately, Gunhead cannot pet the dog. It's unplayable because of that, basically, though. It's very sad. We'll have to come back and do it when we're in him. Yeah, I honestly feel like Hensel, that was more Sega. Like, I'm sure the upper directors of Create Assembly had their hand in it too, like the bureaucrats, but at the same time, I'm sure they had tons of pressure on Sega too, to do something that was like a huge moneymaker. And naturally, it failed, right? I personally would say the execs of Create Assembly are probably not to blame either, but like Sega's been chasing shit for a while. They're just like Sony in that regard. They like to trend chase. Yeah, which is nice with this company, right? So for example, you will occasionally see the people who will call this game a crypto scam. What they're referencing is a video that was published a while ago, and B, this company, Fundog, originally had a publisher. I think they were they from Chile? I think they were South American in some regard, but apparently that publishing company started pushing NFTs and crypto a lot, and then so Fundog left that publisher. but because at one point they were associated with that publisher, people will still refer to this game as a crypto scam. To my knowledge, there's nothing crypto about it. If you want to go into the files and see if it's mining crypto on your computer, feel free. I feel like people would have spotted that by now, considering, you know, things like ESCA did that in the past. The video was basically about like NFT, I think, crypto games and stuff like that, and like this publisher pushing them. It basically was a hit piece, if I recall correctly. I didn't watch the whole video. I just know it was related to Fundog because Fundog was under their umbrella at one point. But Fundog, I don't believe Fundog is a publisher now. I think they're just self-published. So they don't have an overlord right now, but money is money. It's something to consider too, right? When they first announced their EA, they said they wanted to do it for about a year. And apparently they said they were surprised by the reception. So maybe the year was a conservative estimate of how much cash they had on hand and how much runway they basically had before they ran out. So maybe we get a couple more years in development before we actually see like a full release. We'll have to see. Rat King's gonna die. I think he might win it. Oh, we can see the fight happen, I guess. I forgot to bring a jump pack, but I can still get up here this way. So this is Sniper Rock, and what it's good for is, as it sounds, sniping. It's kind of a bitch to get up this way. I usually prefer just using a jump pack, but it is doable. I think it's over this, right? There we go. It's a real bitch to get up here this way. No. Let me up. Why did I bring a jump pack? There we go. More to the left, I think. I've got up here before easier than this. I give up. I need to forget to do that again. We'll just snipe over here. So the reason why that rock is really nice, and I'll get up there perhaps later, is hold on one second. The rock is really nice because it's outside of a spawn point. So it's essentially in between two triggers. There's a spawn trigger for about here, and there's a despawn trigger back here. Essentially, this is in between the spawn trigger and the despawn trigger, so you won't have any units despawn, but you also won't have any more units spawn. So you can actually kind of snipe in peace. Which is pretty rare, right? Usually when you snipe, something happens and you get pushed out of your spot, or they aggro. Oh, poor Rat King. He at least got one of them, though. Rat King did 1 for 1. Alright, where's Pyro? Alright, Salters are dead. Pyro? Nope. Is there a tank on the other side of this wall? Oh, 1890. Oh, I'm sure they are actually making an art book. They're talking about getting a publisher for that. I think they're already in the works for that, so we should see an art book soon, or eventually. Definitely another way for funding. No, not really. Ugh, 2 exos. Though, that might actually die. Yeah, right, Dirk. Best thing about this patch is the tank physics now is even worse. Oh, they actually won. I think it's got to be low though. Oh, it's gonna lose to the squad though for sure. Unless they all just like run in and get stomped. It's got no pilot. I am genuinely curious too if it's actually just because they don't have the rigging yet for the pilot to be inside, or the programming, or just because it's actually supposed to be AI plus plus pilot. Yeah, I do tend to agree with you. The helicopter, the movement right now is like feels super placeholdery, right? On the helicopter, it looks very out of place. I do agree with you very much. It looks like the helicopter right now looks like someone's dragging it via like a mouse click and like an animator, right? Yeah, Vinny, for sure. It does not move like a helicopter. It's being dragged to the x-axis. I guess the z-axis, right? I don't know. All right, no pyro, unfortunately. Is that the third exo? A lot of fucking exos on this map. Yeah, they're not. I think they still utilize simple ones, but I don't think they go full crazy with it, right? And it would make sense of like, it would make sense on why it moves so sluggishly, right? Because it's a pretty underpowered AI. I can see the lore implications or like why it would be that way if it did use AI. Why it didn't use the full functionality, like we see in the trailer. Or it could just be literally just because of it's hard to move a mech like that fast with a pilot inside, with two models inside. I'm not even sure if they're trying to compete in the tech war. They're just in the more gun roll, or more gun war. All right, hold on. Come here, you. Who's your good boy? I still think it would be amazing to have these as companions. The functionality I want to see for these is that they can go fetch bags for you. So say for example, like you're a sniper and you snipe someone from across the map, you order the dog to go fetch the bag for you, it runs across the map, fetches the bag and brings it back to you and drops it at your feet. Literally just playing fetch with murder. I've seen the mod, yeah. All right, let's go ahead. Where are you, you beautiful thing? Yeah, we have the scar. We have the cool saw. But we're actually looking for is we're gonna run the scar here. Sorry, the scar super heavy. Yeah, ready for sure. Distracto dog. All right, where are you, 50 cal? There we go. So I will say, there isn't a lot of uses for this gun, but it is actually really, really good with headshots now. So before, it only has 200 damage, which basically puts it on par with like an AK and RPK basically, so not much more than a regular gun. However, its headshot multiplier is insane. So you'll like 2 or 3 tap hunter killers essentially. So as long as you're hitting heads, you are murdering things. Yeah, for sure, David. Yeah, it's rough, but like as long as you're okay with early access gameplay, it's a gem for sure. If you're okay with the jank. There's, unlike a lot of other games, like more like AAA games, where I don't see a lot of like the creative freedom or like the idea to iterate or try new things. In games like this and Star Citizen, despite the jank and despite Star Citizen being Star Citizen, like there's at least ideas there, right? In regards to trying out new things, building new systems, doing things that you don't really see done for reasons. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Like, maybe there's a reason why no one tried to make a game like Star Citizen before. But you gotta have people to actually try. Yeah, it's got a very, very cool vibe to it, right? It just sounds so meaty, right? Weirdly enough, No Man's Sky, I don't think it's a bad game. I just can't get in to No Man's Sky. There's just something about No Man's Sky I just can't get into. I can't, like, maybe it's the UI. I just don't know what it is about the game. Maybe it's like a bit too sandboxy, perhaps. Elite Dangerous, I probably would like if I got into it. But No Man's Sky, I've tried like 2 or 3 tries now for No Man's Sky. I just can't do it. Yeah, well, that and both Ashes of Creation, right? This game, Star Citizen, Ashes, all games I've invested in. They have this tendency, right, to like need to invent new things that aren't maybe fully explored yet. So, for example, you have Star Citizen's implementation of server meshing, right? And now you actually have Ashes' version of server meshing too, right? And I'm not sure how Star Citizen is doing it, but Ashes, right, they've actually gone over this too in a few of their videos, right? They're doing basically like dynamic server meshing where they scale up and down the servers in certain areas. Like, say, for example, this room, if necessary, right, they could partition this room into multiple different servers if they needed to, right? Like, for example, I think in Star Citizen they have like Stan's one server, Pyro's one server. They might have a few servers for different things, but like Ashes, right, it's actually dynamic. Depending on the needs of a certain area, they will try to scale it down as small as they can if they need to have enough server, basically throughput, to accommodate as many players are in that area. And so they're trying to make sure they have like a ways of making sure they can actually, those servers have to talk to each other a lot, right? Because those servers have to show information to like other servers where you might be in that server but not the other server, right? It's very cool tech. And like, I don't think it'd be developed if it wasn't needed to, right? Like you wouldn't see tech like that unless like a game actually needed to develop it. And it's been like in multiple years of the making, right? I am curious if Star Citizen was ever to fail, or like, it probably wouldn't fail, but it probably would just peter out. Would they actually be able to like parts out or sell some of their systems they've used to other companies? I guess you don't really sell code per, I'm not too familiar. I don't think you really sell companies code, but maybe products. But as you saw right there, right, these are hunter killers now. This thing, as long as you're shooting at the head, tears through hunter killers. Oh yeah, even if Star Citizen was to go defunct, people love that type of game so much, I am almost sure people will pick it up. Not yet, I am Y7. I haven't checked Discord recently, but like I'm pretty sure they're still on vacation or just they're silent right now. So maybe next week. Yeah, I mean, not having the server side sucks for I imagine Star Citizen, but remember people back in the day had like were able to get WoW private servers up and running too, right? As long as there's people willing to do it, I'm sure Star Citizen or games like that will survive if, you know, is it Cloud Imperium just disappeared overnight? These people want that game to succeed so much they'll invest time into it too. They'll run their private servers. Yeah, we'll have to see. I definitely think it's something that needed a hotfix, at least like to nerf or like basically neuter for now. Y7. Like, enough people have commented on it that I definitely feel like it needs to be like hotfixed. It doesn't really add anything right now, right? It feels like a placeholder or like a very early implementation of a different system. So we're in a bad spot. So we're in between like two big areas of soldiers, and hunter killers have a tendency to, as they're heading to you, bring friends along the way. And because they'll come through here, they'll tend to attract the entire room along with them. So the room that we're currently in is basically just a death trap when you have HKs. Oh, David, no, yeah. Like, with Masked Man, with this rig, yeah, about 1.3 thousand kilograms, according to the game. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but that's what it says. But yeah, without any additional buffs, this rig's about 1.3 thousand kilograms of container of items. But as Bagman 2, we actually think we get up to 25% increased capacity, so even higher than that. We gotta do data heist. It feels like a glitch or an oversight, right? Like, the way I see it, it's such an early... this might not be a good idea to do. with a hunter killer there and also an exo. This could be a little bit dangerous. Oh yeah, definitely, we're fucking off. Different day for Dead Heist. We're gonna close this door. So it feels like essentially, it feels like something they were working on, weren't finished yet, but got pushed into the like live build of the game. It feels like some pretty just janky version control, because it feels like a precursor to like an auditory system, right? Or like a stealth mechanic system, right? It feels, because it's not a bad baseline. The cylinder feels out of place because it doesn't feel like it's supposed to be a cylinder. It's supposed to be like a sphere or ellipsoid. It might just be like a wrong setting perhaps, or like a wrong integer somewhere. Like if 3 is sphere, 4 is ellipsoid, you know, who knows? Or, you know, 5 is cylinder. It feels like something that just like snuck into the patch, they didn't see it, and it just snuck into here. It doesn't feel intentional. It feels like the base for an actual system though. Like if you're standing up walking around, I can see 6 meters, a 6 meter sphere, maybe like ellipsoid, because if you don't know, by the way, so sphere, circle, you know, equal radius on every single side. Cylinder, you know, radius, but it goes up and down perfectly fine. There's no like top or bottom. And the ellipsoid, right, it's basically like an oval, right? It's a 3D oval. So like it can be skewed one way or the other, right? It can have like a wider height than a, you know, a width. So if it was like an ellipsoid, right, you know, say for example 6 meter radius, 12 meter height, it wouldn't feel that bad with beneficial modifiers, right? So say for example the base when you're running around, not sprinting but not crouching, is 6 meters, and when you crouch it reduces it by half, and like when you have a small rig it reduces it by half again. You eventually get to the point where it's like the old system when you're actually trying to be stealthy. But none of that's in the game currently, so it feels like it was just premature or early or snuck in. Oh no, yeah, it's ludicrous how much we're carrying. Yes, they changed like the weights of things like last patch, or two patches ago, and it just always felt out of place since then. So, shrug. All right. But that's it for today, everyone. Thank you for watching. I will be back on Monday. Video early next week, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, somewhere around there. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys Monday, and take it easy. Have a good weekend.